Yes, greetings, family. This is Bomani Tayamba and family. We are live. Welcome to our show, Pan Africanism Towards Nationhood. And tonight we have a wonderful topic. I'm here with my good brother, Kala Genesis and Great African. So,
Hello.
greetings, how you brothers doing today?
Doing good, brother mine.
Good. Doing good. Doing good.
All right, this is our wonderful topic tonight. Right there, right at you. Liberia regaining its position as the Pan-African capital of the world during Liberia July 20th to the 30th, 2023 tour. So family, as we talk about Liberia and build your connection and share more details with you, we're literally looking to this, give you in detail information about Liberia, more than just the tour and more than just the information about the tour. All right, so your brother's ready to get into it. So what I really want to start with is,
Yeah.
since we're talking about a tour, I want to let people know that we're working on things for the Liberia journey. And Kala, you and I have been doing these calls over the last few months, and I appreciate you, brother. You have shared a lot of incredible information on the importance of Liberia, why we should go to Liberia, the historical connection, and basically have laid out the foundation for us to understand that our ancestors from the African diaspora built the first republic on the African continent for us to repatriate through. So, family, that's the business that I'm into: repatriation and investing in Africa, in the different African countries, and then having an organized approach with my brothers here in America and other parts of the diaspora, so we can do this thing right. So that's why I got my good brother Kala Genesis here and Great African here, and they both have boots on the ground and been there to Liberia. So we're gonna get into more of talking with them as they share more details on the importance of why we need to spend more time and more focus on connecting to Liberia.
Excellent.
So,
Good.
the first thing I'm gonna do, family, I'm gonna show you our website where the details is, which is Africa for the Africans.org. So that way, while we're talking about Liberia, you have a frame of reference of what we're talking with. So while you're on our website, all you do is scroll down to the main menu to your left, and you'll see the Liberia Reconnection and Investment Tour July 2023. And once you scroll down in the front page or the middle page, you'll see the link right here also. And once you click on the link, then you'll get access to the full details of the journey. All right, so these things I'm just going to share with you real quick. So we have a tour overview of Liberia Reconnection Investment Tour, a full itinerary, general term, visa, improving your immune system, departure and reminder list. So these are basically all the need to know as far as the schedule, what we're doing, as far as the price, tour overview, the general terms, cancellation, refunds, things like that, the visa process, and just preparation information, getting your health ready, getting you clear about what to pack and organize. So these are lots of details. Uh, we're not going to so much of that information directly. However, what I have for that, I have a video that covers the overview and the itinerary. So that's what I'm going to also share. So what we've created was a few different marketing materials, including a nice flyer for the Liberia journey. So those who are interested, you can always, as I put my number up, or when you on the website, you have access to my number and email address. You can email me or text me, especially if you have interest in traveling with us to Liberia. So, so brother, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show everyone the newsletter, the same newsletter that I sent to you. So one quick way to access the newsletter, you can click on the website, and it will say newsletter on the main menu. Let me actually share. So this is the newsletter, and this is a newsletter that we send out. Now, every month I send out a few different newsletters with all the different countries that we're traveling to, and just let everyone know the schedule of the different journeys that we're taking. But in this case, what we have is a newsletter directly that's all about the Liberia journey. And what I want to do is scroll down through it. And again, family, for those who want to see or get access to the information, once you're on our website, africafortheafricans.org, you just go to the main menu and click on Liberia. And if you want to see this newsletter, you go to the main menu and click on newsletter, and you'll see a list of all of our newsletters. And Kala and Great African, as you can see, the beautiful Liberia.
The logo.
I want to say this is more of a coats of arm, but y'all call it logo, and it's a nice picture that, you know, these one of them olden ships, but I love the part where it say the love of liberty brought us here, the Republic of Liberia. Now we should have had the time frame there. Since both of you guys know a lot about Liberia, what year was Liberia? We always hear about countries gaining independence. What year is Liberia is marked with, as far as, like, you know, Ghana as 1957?
Liberia is actually 1847.
Perfect. Thank you very much. 110 years. I said that to prove a point. Ghana is one of the more popular countries for repatriation and people going there living and doing business. But 150 years before the Ghana independence. Sorry,
175 years. 175 years.
You said, let me make sure I got my number. You said 1847.
1847, yes.
So that should be 110 years, and Ghana is 1957.
Correct.
Ghana is 1957. That would be Ghana is like 74 years, actually. 74, and then
no, what I'm saying is the difference. Liberia received its independence in
1847,
and then the first established country beyond that was Ghana in 1957.
Right,
and I'm sure a few of the countries in North Africa were, you know, at independence before that. But when we talk about sub-Saharan Africa,
no, actually, bro,
like Algerian countries like that,
Algeria was fighting earlier. Actually, Algeria was fighting for independence in the 60s from France. You know, Algeria didn't get independence until after Ghana.
Which country in North Africa? Which one of the countries in North Africa? Because what we
know, it was like Egypt in the 60s, Libya in the 66. I think Algeria was like almost like in the late 60s.
Well, so everything was basically after Ghana then.
Right after Ghana.
Maybe I'm thinking about another country in the. You know, I'm thinking about. I apologize. I'm thinking about India. I'm thinking about India in the 40s. It was India. It's not. It had nothing to do with Africa. It was India.
Okay.
Yeah.
But want to let people know, like family, you know, when we talk about established nations, you know, these are established nations, and I'm sure you're going to go into how the OAU was formed right there in Liberia. But family, let me just scroll through the schedule. Just wanted to let everyone know that we have flyers, postcard, website information, and details, because these are information that, you know, when you're ready to travel or do business, or, you know, you want to see the schedule, the itinerary. So before it gets into it, we always give a background about us, mission, vision, and past and future journeys. So what I've been doing go back all the way from 2004, you know, when we did Senegal and Egypt. And then from there, we just build our way from 2006 to 2021 to 2022. So I'm telling you, family, you're talking about a good 16 to 18 years experience traveling to Africa, doing tours, and here to this, give our best energy to this incredible country, Liberia, and make our ancestors proud. And these are things that I want us to get into, family, to where we haven't, you know, when we have countries that our ancestors put the work into building, you know, we can't let it go. So this is the 21st century, you know, reconnection energy in Liberia, and just very excited to do this. So family, start right here under Liberia. So we're set to depart Thursday, July 20th, and we're going to be flying on Royal Air Maroc from New York to Monrovia with the connection in Casablanca, Morocco. So we have a nice, smooth schedule. Once you get there and you get settled, we're gonna get you over to Candagia Resort. So that's Bob Johnson, Mr. BT himself. So when I saw this resort, I was like, this is perfect for our group. This is perfect for us to just make our introduction into Liberia. And then one of the greatest things that we do in family is always supporting Black-owned business. That's what we're all about. The goal of our Operation Africa for the Africans is to give you that strong connection. And so the first day we just have basic orientation, and I just really want us to just enjoy the resort, and also this we're gonna have a nice welcome dinner. And my good brother Kala recommend Fusion the Freak restaurant. So Kala has give me a lot of recommendations and
Have
helped me
you
do this
ate at
itinerary.
Fusion restaurant, Tubman Boulevard?
I'm sorry?
Yes, that's it right there.
Restaurant by Chili Ure. Fusion restaurant. Have you been there?
No, I haven't been there. You talking about Monrovia?
Yeah, Monrovia.
No.
Restaurant's bomb.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Bar. It's a restaurant bar, real nice, state of the art, man. So modern, everything clean.
So it's perfect for a welcome dinner. So that's what you got, family. So we're gonna get through this real fast, family, because I want to get my brothers into us talking about Liberia. So day 3, Saturday, July 22nd. We're set for a full roots and culture journey. So what I have listed on here, we have arts and culture place, creative arts center, cultural schools, Grand Masonic Temple, passing the Antoinette Tubman Stadium, multi-purpose stadium, and then we're set to have a beautiful dinner, whether we're at the resort or somewhere out. The goal is to just try to find unique, wonderful places and just get our group out so we can just enjoy the nightlife and just kind of enjoy all elements of the country, from day to evening to night. And we're here at the Candagia Resort for a few days, so I want to make it to where we can settle and just relax and make our way around the country and things like that. So everyone that's listening, this is an itinerary that we put a lot of work into to create an itinerary that's impactful, that you can get a whole lot of energy from. Now Sunday, got us set for nice tropical beach day. And this is when we take that journey to Buchanan, tropical paradise in Grand Bassa County, Sunset Beach social gathering. So that's a day open to where we just really socialize and connect into the country. So I'm looking forward to that because it's one of those things where you're right there on the beautiful African coast, and that's what I love about Liberia. Just a nice coast, and just looking forward to this connecting on those beautiful beaches. So we try to make sure that we have everything in it: roots, culture, business, investment, nightlife, shopping, networking, adventures, and things like that. And this is the statue of Joseph Roberts, first president of Liberia. And this is and Kala did a nice video of this location. So when we go there with Revolutionary Cam, we're going to be doing interviews. We're going to be doing incredible videos and add people like scholars like Kala, just add the historical perspective. Because this is something that we have to be proud of, Now, African ancestors here in America decided that they wanted to make a move back to the African continent, and they built greatness. And as my brother Kala been telling me over the years, that a lot of the information is not really put out there properly. So that's what we're gonna get into tonight, family. But let me scroll down some more. Day 5, Monday, July 24th. That's a full city tour. So capital of Monrovia, Liberian National Museum, Capitol Hill, University of Liberia, Joseph Jenkins Robert Monument, the first president of Liberia, and then look to this either enjoy a dinner buffet at the resort or just somewhere nice and social. Tuesday, day 6, July 25th, repatriation settlement for stolen Africans. So wanted to make sure that we had all of the historical places. So we're gonna have these beautiful Africa for Africans T-shirt or whatever we put together to show the Pan-African energy. Now, so what we have set for here is Providence Island, the 1822 settlement for stolen Africans or Pan-African repatriates, Bushrod Island, and the free port of Monrovia. So as you can see, family, we're just getting you out to all of the sites. All right, then day 7, this is when we just check out a Candasia resort, and then we're just looking to head out to the countryside for a few days. So day 7 is Robert Sports, Grand Cape Mount. Day 8, we have the Gola Forest National Park. And let me make sure I have the update in there as far as us going up to Nimba County. All right, so day 9, I have us set once we're out in the few days in the countryside. The goal is to do a lot more. We just got a few basic things on the schedule, but the goal is to do a lot more. But once we get back to Monrovia, the goal is to have a beautiful business and investment conference that we just share and educate people about living, doing business in Liberia. So looking forward to that. That's always a good way for us to build a foundation as far as us piquing our interest in the country beyond just tourism. And in the last few days, then we close out. So family, once you scroll down on the newsletter, what you're going to also see is a tour overview. And the tour overview is going to give you the price. It's going to give you what's included, which is going to be flights, transportation, and tours throughout Liberia, daily exercise and meditation session. For those who want to join us in that morning session, daily continental breakfast and gourmet dinner. And then we have the 4-star hotel resort, Candasia Resort, business investment conference, and just a whole lot of networking. So all of these things that's on the schedule is included, and what's not included is tips, camera and camcorder fee. And the last I remember, Kala, you mentioned about the visa. The visa is no more because I noticed that I removed it from.
Yeah, I would recall it. That's what I heard, right? But I was talking to Gray African last night. He hasn't confirmed that yet. So I heard that if you have a U.S. Or Liberian passport, you don't need a visa to get in the country. But I wouldn't, like I said, I have not confirmed that. That's just stuff that I heard online. I heard it on Dynasty Show, and some people from Dynasty Show said, yeah, it's true. And I said, I haven't heard that confirmed, even though the government said that. But it's not, the devil's in the details, about who that extends to and whatnot, So I can't.
Really. Then we can I do have the visa information online on the website, so we can always just see how that works. But I always put visa information up, and you do have countries at one point. Sometimes they change it and go back and forth. I remember going back and forth to Senegal, and at one point they was requiring visas, and then the rest of the time they weren't requiring visas. So these things do change. So family, this overview of all these wonderful things that we talk about is right here on this list. And that's what I meant to tell you, right? It's Organization of African Unity Village. So family, we have some great history, and Kala's going to get into it in a few. And so family, that's our itinerary and overview, just to give a good glance. But you can always take your time and go through this newsletter. There's a lot of history as far as all the tours that we've done to different countries, so you can understand that we're not coming and approaching Liberia as amateurs, like how we have done in other countries. We're approaching it, with full experience, because we want to take this thing to another level. So these are all of my previous journeys that take you literally back all the way to 2006. And as you can see, family, 2006 is December, and October 2007. So that's from 8 people to 42 people. So that's the kind of work that we do. We go to a country, we build energy, and we just put it out. So yes, let me switch back to us. So yes, fellas, that is it. That is our incredible Liberia schedule, and I'm telling you, family, the details. Once you check out the website, you can email or text me or just reach out and let me know if you're interested, and then we can just go from there as we can talk more direct and go through the information. All right, so now family, let's get more into it. We've talked about the tours, and my 2 good brothers here have great experience in Liberia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tonight I want to hear about Gray Africa going to tell us a lot about the story of the Ma people. I used to call them the Mono people all these years. He let me call them Mono people, and their great contribution to the Republic of Liberia. And to this day, we have a lot of people from his tribe that live in the United States that are contributing to Black America and continuing the bonds. You know, he has college children at HBCUs. His brother's a real Pan-Africanist, great African. And his sister's a scholar. She's the most educated person I've ever heard on African history. You know, I don't agree with her about the woman king, but you know, I was like, come on, sis. You know, I don't agree about but I haven't seen the movie yet. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. You know, but his sister is a scholar. Really, it angers me because the way she broke it down about Liberian history, right? And the way she broke Liberian history down, right, is something that we have all these people that call themselves scholars and that came before us, right? And nobody's ever brought the history of Liberia and gave Liberia justice. You know, a fair and balanced view of the history of Liberia, how it was really a Pan-African state. You know, the laws, you know, the way that people integrated with each other from day one, and all this stuff like this. And Liberia did more good. It was more Liberia was more of a success than it was ever a failure. You know, that's why after all these years, it still stands as a republic. There's a reason why. You know, it's because the people, and not enough credit is given to the indigenous people of Liberia in forming Liberia and maintaining the republic to this day. You know, and like I said, and I'm glad I got my brother Gray Africa because, like I said, if it was not for his group and Nimba in that region, the people in Lofa, Liberia would not cease to be a republic to this day. And he's going to tell about why some of these people in Liberia to this day, you know, they speak. I said, how do you got Liberians speaking French? Why are they coming to Liberia? You know, if Liberia was so bad, why do you got so many French people walk around Liberia? You know, why you got so many people from Sierra Leone? You can tell the Creole accent in the Sierra Leone people. You know, why are they there? Why? Because Liberia was something special. You know, it's too bad that the black people in the diaspora don't treasure this country. You know, the way it's supposed to be. You know, it's a country of freedom. You know, like against all the odds, against the world. This republic survived as a republic. You know what it takes to build a republic? It takes thousands of years. You know, look how long it took the British to become a republic. You know, they had monarchies, they had the Anglican Church, they had the Holy Roman Catholic Church, they had all this stuff. Liberia succeeded in becoming, maintaining its identity as a republic. They said, what's the difference with the republic? Why? Because if you don't run on a republic has to get recognized, right? Liberia was recognized by the other republics around the world through treaty. And this is why they were not colonized. You know, we're not colonized because they were recognized through treaty by law, by international law, that they were a sovereign republic. You know, and so this is why it's important to understand why this is working, because these were black men who did this. You know, this is absolutely, Liberia is definitely a black country. Go ahead, brother Bradford.
Oh yeah. So a lot of, first of all, thanks for having me on. And I am a proud Liberian. There's some misinformation about Liberia out there. A lot of negative things that are said, you know, about the Americo-Liberian interaction with indigenous, and some of the people who make these statements pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, despite all of the atrocities that happen here in this country. But then there's a hypocrisy where natural differences of opinions that happen in Liberia, different cultural values, things like that. But they demonize, you know, the founders of Liberia. So what I like to focus on is the positives of the foundation of Liberia. Okay, Liberia is and was the only country where a black person could go and be free, outside of maybe Haiti. Okay. Liberia's foundation, Liberia was founded by the greatest black minds of that era. And the greatest black minds went to Liberia to showcase their talents and to showcase some of the best business people went to Liberia, black business people, that is. So we survived the scramble for Africa, which If you look at the map of Liberia after 1857, we did subsequently lost some territory, but we still survived. A lot of the British at some point wanted to colonize us, but it wasn't happening. So when we talk about Pan-Africanism, there's no country that exhibits Pan-Africanism. I feel like Liberia lost his birthright as the Pan-African country. When I say it lost it through the media. Okay, but realistically, Liberia is the true Pan-African nation. Liberia has presidents. We had a president from, besides the number of African American presidents that we also had presidents from the Caribbean, specifically Barbados, specifically like Arthur Barkley, Edwin Barkley. So we had a lot of Caribbean influence as well. And if you look at the Liberian accent and listen keenly, you will see elements of Eastern Caribbean rhythm, as well as Black American rhythm. So when you look at it, if you listen to somebody from Liberia talk and listen to somebody from, U.S. Virgin Island or Dominica, some of these islands, you start to see the influence of all of these different areas that Black people came from to Liberia to seek refuge. Okay, so without getting into too much detail, I encourage everybody to look up the Liberian Declaration of Independence, read the Liberian Declaration of Independence fully, then you'll understand the miracle that is Liberia. Okay, so I'll leave it at that, but there's a lot more to it, to Liberia. It's a place that the only requirement to really become a citizen of Liberia is that you have to be Black. And our forefathers preserved Liberia by making it a country that you have to be Black, and to become a citizen, and you have to be Black to own land. And on the African continent, Liberia, most Liberians, almost every Liberian, has access to land. It's because it wasn't taken away by a colonial master. Okay, so and to this day, if you're not a Black man, you have to lease. You can't buy. You cannot become a citizen. They try to put it on a referendum. It didn't go through because racism is not over yet. So we're preserving Liberia for Black people to come back and build the country. And we have a foundation for that. Yeah. So that's just an opening statement. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, that right there is like I said, on the panel tonight, we have an African American, we have a brother from the Caribbean, Jamaica, and we have a native Liberian brother, right? All three on this panel, all three Pan-Africans, right? This is what Pan-Africa is all around. Doesn't mean that we don't have our differences,
Yes.
but it does say that we see the bigger picture. We as Black people have been serving white people forever, right? We've been given to America. We're working for this system and everything. We have a responsibility to build Africa, and that's what Pan-Africa is all about. That's what nation building is all about. It's about basically, we have institutions here, our institutions in America, right? I was touched a couple months ago when the University of Tennessee sent a bunch of computers to Liberia. It's the responsibility to reach across the Atlantic and help out there. And I want to see more of that. And I pray with this movement, with Brother Bamani coming on, we'll have Black people in America who have tremendous resources and key positions in American society, right, to reach to Liberia. We were doing that before Ebola, happened, And we had Morehouse, and we had Howard, and all these other people were linking with Tubman University and all the places, building their architects and the engineering stuff, requiring students, if you want to earn credits and everything, you have to do an internship in Liberia. All these things, and also the African American fraternities, the Omegas, who are sitting down with Sirleaf, you know, the not the Omegas, the Qs, the Pi. I don't know, but then the sister sororities built a market in the what's that place in Marshall? They built a market. You know, that's basically $500,000 grant. These are the sort of things. When a lot of times people talk about Pan African, they talk about Pan African, but Pan African is about duty, about doing something. You know it's the right thing to do. Okay, you know it's the right thing to do. And a lot of times, what I love about African Americans, we're not always, it's never always quid pro quo. We do just to do. You know, our churches and all stuff like that have been basically supporting African countries for years. Why? No quid pro quo. It's the right thing to do. It's the responsibility of Black America and Africa, just like it's a responsibility of Africans to accept us and build with us and make our life easier when we go to the continent. It's our responsibility to use our political clout in America and economic or social clout in America to help Africa. That's just simple how it is. And when we build these bonds, right, we're not just pigeonholed to America, that we feel that we have an escape. We have an Africa plan. We have an African, we're building nation building, we're going beyond America. The problem is some people don't want us to have anything alternate America because that basically, they think that they're going to lose their place in line with the white man, Like, I was waiting in line for 200 years to get next to the white man. Now you talk about going to build in Africa, That's what that's all about, It's like, yo, I've been waiting to kiss the white man's ass for 20 years, man. Yo, let me get it's my turn to shine. My turn to get my butter biscuits. And so you guys talking about Africa right now, y'all ruin everything. I'm sorry. And also, let's talk about this. African Americans have been involved in Africa for a long time. That's something that's been overlooked, not just Liberia, right? We have been George Washington Williams, who was in the Congo, You have Bishop Henry McNeil Turner in South Africa. We've always been involved in that. People don't even realize this, that some of the first communities in Lagos, Nigeria were African Americans from Sierra Leone and North America who settled in Lagos. People don't realize that, And so the bottom line is Black people in America and Ghana too. There's African Americans who settled in Jamestown in Ghana, People don't realize that. The idea of African Americans not being involved is like which bringing something new to the table is not new. And the beauty about Liberia is Liberia was the most successful, repatriation and historical, right, thing, because all those other places you had limits with the British, right? That's why Liberia was founded, because in Freetown they were like, y'all ain't bringing them Negroes over here, They said no, it's
This just to Carla's point, the African American collaboration on the African continent is well documented. As it relates to Liberia, can you imagine 1929 with Booker Washington Institute was established in Liberia, Kakata, Magibi County. So if you're on your way to Nimba, maybe you can make a pit stop. But this was an institute that was modeled after what is now known as the Tuskegee Institute. But that was but before then, in those days, it was named the Booker Washington Institute. So today in Liberia, thousands of Liberians have graduated from the Booker Washington Institute. Okay, President of the time, Charles D.B. King, visited the Booker Washington Institute, and he wanted something similar in Liberia, so they established their school. So this is 1929, and we're talking about other countries that were still under colonial rule all the way, until 1957, before the first country that was under the yoke of colonialism was gained independence. Okay, so to me, it's remarkable, because we're talking about, when you're talking about Pan-Africanism, you're talking about Pan-Africanism in its forms like collaboration, right? We collaborate with one another. And that is an institute that, agriculture, vocational, everything. A lot of people have an uncle. I have an uncle that's only a year older than me. He's into construction. He graduated from Booker Washington Institute, and he's a builder in Liberia. So he builds houses, but he got that. And so without that Pan-Africanist collaboration, that institute wouldn't exist. And that's what's real. Imagine if our ancestors were doing this 100 years ago. What can we accomplish today?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Liberia's set up just for that purpose, you know how we could have youth going over there for summer vacation and working and doing internship, fellowshipping back and forth. Liberian students coming to the United States, working back and forth, but just building these bonds of affection. Now, Great African has you have a son in Howard University. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, my oldest son, he's almost 21. He's a junior at Howard University. And, he just, he had options, right? To get into Howard, I think the freshman class that was entering had an average GPA of 3.5. So I wanted him to be among and around other Black children that also have similar drive and ambitions. Okay. So where he could go and actually be humbled, instead of just like what we have here, where, you have like the local high school, you're the Black kid who actually does his homework. So everybody thinks that you're great, right? Very, very low expectation. So I wanted him to go and see, okay, exactly what it is to be among serious-minded children, young men and women, and and he's dated in the pre-med realm. So I mean that's what it is. So he's doing very well, and I'm very proud of him. And I have my daughter. I'm also proud of her. She's at the University of Wisconsin. Okay, so she's doing computer science. He's doing computer information systems. So he had an internship, and after the internship, they actually offered him a part-time job virtually. So he's working, doing different programs while he's still going to school. So we're very proud of that, and part of that reason is just being around children or young people. I hate to say children, but young people who also are serious about their business. We have, there's a medical school there. There's riffraff everywhere, but it's not. These are some of the sharpest kids in the United States of America that go to Howard University. Okay, imagine. So yeah, I'm very proud of that. I have another son that's coming up. He's 11, and he wants to go to Howard. He wants to go to Howard too. So yeah, that's all part of the education process.
And that makes me proud that you're this is like a new phase of Black history. Like I said, the African American story is not just the African American slave descendants, right? Now we have a chance to build with this new energy of African immigrants who are very education minded, right? Who are very, very driven, who understand the seriousness. Not saying that African Americans don't, but when you hear generation, you get lazy, and that's just anybody. That's why you guys are so fresh. Like, look, our ancestors had to suffer. You're gonna get that. You know what I'm saying? Our ancestors were like that a couple of generations too. Get that education. But just like all Americans, Black, white, we lose the ball, and so America needs this new energy of people coming here and doing stuff. And why not Black America? Why not? I mean, the Asians are coming over here, the Europeans come over here and building up white institutions. Right? So we have to basically, why would we cut off all this energy, right? This potential of people who are driven, right, from the African continent, because it's what Pan-African means, that you're part of the Black world. I mean, we're part of the world, but we're part of the Black world, and it's important that these children go to historically Black universities, and also commingle with the African Americans and put in that perspective, that understand that we are part of the Black world. And
Right.
so I would believe nations are built in the in the schools and in the home. You know, those two things, and the last part in the streets. You know, the family structure, right? Great African has a great family. You know, and so therefore that's part of nation building, and also education, school. You know, giving kids direction. You know, all those things are very, very important to building nation, and being proud of his homeland, where he comes from, and everything, and understand that he's part of the African American story now too, because he came to the United States, right? He's assimilated pretty much with the black culture in America. He's going to his kids are going to black institutions and everything, and so therefore, together we can build. We can apparently we could build Liberia together, you know, and put our forces together. And I believe that once that happens, Liberia will have a treasure trove. Can you imagine these kids, these Liberian kids, are basically leading the way for us to come back to Liberia and build and everything on every college. 165 historically black colleges got different Pan-African programs and everything. We're talking about investments and everything. Can you imagine what the governments, and our heads apart, I really don't feel that a lot of the governments in Africa really care. You know, I don't think they really care. I don't think they see the tremendous, the most tremendous resource of building a nation is human. You know, as brain power, human. You know, when you're dismissive of people who got education and they could do other things besides run for office, and you're just sort of like, oh yeah, whatever. You just and then also those people, like I said, what I like about Liberia is I'm hearing from Great African. There's a lot of people who are not on YouTube who are doing their thing. I hope Great African talk about some of these people that's making moves in Liberia, but we don't know about them because they're not online. You know, can you tell us about some people you were telling me, brother?
Yeah. I mean, for us, you know, we've been doing. I have a serious agriculture business in Liberia now, and we're expanding. We acquired an additional 300 acres of land that we haven't started to develop yet, but then we're currently operating at 150 acres right outside of Ganta. We do oil palm. You know, we do different types of vegetables, collard greens. I'm introducing Jamaican Scotch bonnet peppers to Liberia. In the next, I already have the seeds here. We're going to be introducing that locally. In Liberia, we specifically changed the name from Scotch bonnet. We're going to market it as Jamaican Girl because it's from Jamaica. Liberians have a way of naming food after girl.
Tell me about the Jamaican connection. And tell them about the Jamaican connection in Liberia.
Oh yeah. Okay. So for example, right now, our first lady of Jamaica, of Liberia, is actually a Jamaican born. She was a Jamaican immigrant to New York, and she met our current president, George Weah, in the 90s. You know, at that time he was a soccer player, and they met, and they have a nice family. I mean, their son actually plays for the U.S. soccer team. There was a huge controversy because his father is the president of Liberia, and then Jamaica wanted him to play for them, and so then he chose to play for the U.S. So there's that connection. There's a lot of intermarriage between Africans and Caribbean, Africans and African Americans, and this is an example of it. So where people meet, and there's not a hang up about, oh, you're from here. Somebody that, you know, you have a vibe, and that's it, you know. And so we have a Jamaican born first lady of the Republic of Liberia. And now Jamaicans have a history in Liberia as well. We even have a community that was established by Jamaica in Liberia. It's called Jamaica Road community. So my wife happens to be Jamaican as well. so that's just you know. So we were able to meet the first lady of Liberia this March when we were in Liberia doing some work on our farms. We do some collaboration, you know, with the first the first brother-in-law, because he's also into farming. So, and he's a devout Pan-Africanist. He's actually the 10th Secretary General of UNIA, Marcus Garvey's organization. So, so we have some of that, those connections in Liberia. And Liberia was where Garvey wanted to establish the Pan-African state, the Pan-African movement. But the president at the time had his arms twisted, put behind his back, and so that dream wasn't realized. But even after Garvey's death, there was an African American gentleman by the name of James Stewart who picked up the baton and actually went to Liberia, and as a follower of Garvey, okay, and Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana was also a follower of Garvey, so they had that connection. So when James Stewart finally settled in Liberia and built schools, he actually organized a meeting with Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré of Guinea, and then President Tubman of Liberia. They met in Senikole, Nimba County, to do the framework of the Organization for African Unity, with the sole intention of helping other African countries escape the yoke of colonialism. Okay, so so when we talk about Pan-Africanism, it's not a fantasy; it's reality. You wouldn't have the OAU that became the African Union without one of the most well-known Pan-Africanists, Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey's follower, okay, a direct disciple of Garvey. He wasn't from Jamaica like Garvey was. He was an African American, was instrumental in bringing together an African from Ghana, what became Ghana, another president from Guinea, and then a president of African American descent to say, hey, brothers, let's get together and form this organization called African Unity. He did all that behind the scene, and he was a Pan-Africanist. And today, if you go to Liberia, you can stop in I think I forget the name of the town, but it's in Bone County. That school is still there. It still exists. I believe some of the descendants of James Stewart are still contributing. So these are all efforts that are there that we can actually contribute to and enhance. Right there, it's right off the highway. I went there, we visited the school. And so these are, when we talk about Pan-Africanism, it's not a fantasy, it's reality. Our ancestors and our forefathers, when I say ancestors, I'm just talking about people that would have been like our fathers and our grandfathers. Okay, they had that vision to actually do these things, and their fingerprints is all over Liberia, and it's all over Africa.
Yeah, I mean, when you told me, I knew about Stewart, but what I thought was he was a Liberian legislator. I didn't know he was African American. I thought he was a Liberian legislature that came up with the idea, and that makes sense. He was a Garveyite because he pushed real hard and said, "Look, man, maybe we can get Sekou Touré, Kwame Nkrumah to come to Nimba, and let's organize this." Can you imagine that these guys like thinking? It's just like when people tell me when Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration, he said people thought he was insane. You declare yourself from England? Are you nuts? Are you crazy? Same thing. Same thing when I formed the Association of African Americans of Liberia. Are you nuts? Are you crazy? That'll never work, whatever. And look what it is, 11 years, man. It's like one of the most influential Liberian groups on around, and I'm bringing Liberians and African Americans. I got more Liberians in there than I do African Americans. And they basically, people don't even care about who's Liberian, who's African American anymore. Everybody just working together is how we could, improve Liberia. Everybody's putting up beautiful pictures of Liberia.
That's Pan-Africanism. That's Pan-Africanism.
When you cease to, you be like, hey, we know we got our own backgrounds and everything, but the bigger thing is we're all Black and we have to work together to build what we have. Either that or we're gonna hand it over to the Lebanese, we're gonna hand it over to the Chinese, because we look like a bunch of fools sitting there fighting and bickering with each other over freaking nonsense. That's Pan-Africanism, not all this other stuff people talk about. It's the real, and also knowing the history. being clear about the history, like Gray African just broke down. It's important that everybody understands that. So when somebody comes up, like certain fools on the internet talking about Liberia, Marcus Garvey tried to want to colonize Africa and whatnot, don't even know about the Black liberation struggle. Don't understand that what Garvey's trying to do is set him free, and all these people that are anti-Pan-Africanists, as much as we talk and whatnot, we're trying to thing. Kazorian Empire wants to get on in a minute. I don't know when you're gonna put the link in. I know I got Kazorian Empire wants to get in a minute, So we're gonna let him in. I want to hear what Dr. K has to say. So all these people who fight against us and call me names like colonizer and all somebody, they don't know my heart. They don't know what we are. We're continuing the work of Marcus Garvey. When you hear Marcus Garvey's speech, look for me in the whirlwind. We are the whirlwind. We are the whirlwind. We are the people that Garvey said that was going to come and whatnot. Why? Because it's our time. It's our time to build Africa. It's our time to stop seeing our people suffer. It's time that I believe that every African child born in Africa should have a basic standard of living, a basic life and everything, and then to be able to pursue his dreams. When I was in Liberia, I met too many young Liberians, young, strong. I said, man, if I was in charge of this country, all these young, strong brothers, strong men and whatnot, young men with families talking about, man, I just want a good job. We had industrial jobs. We could do so much. They ain't talking about going out there booty clapping. They ain't out there talking about gang banging. They're not talking about this. These Liberian brothers are like, man, we're ready for you, Kala, man. We're ready for the revolution. I said, man, I'm going to do everything I can when I get back to organize something. We're going to build this thing. We're going to make this connection between Black America and Liberia real. We're going to finish the work of Marcus Garvey, because they read the works of Marcus Garvey. They listen to what we say online and stuff like that. But the thing is, though, Africa is still in state. We're still in chains. We still got obligations to the U.S. We got obligations to the British Crown. Look at all these African leaders. In a bus, heads of state, in a bus, right? Going to a funeral, and you got all these other heads of state in their own private bulletproof limousines and whatnot. African leaders are put in a freaking bus. This is like this. This is like this. I'm not saying like this, but I'm saying our people have to step up. We have to make our people. Imagine what that does to all the young African children around the world looking at that. Imagine what all the African children. Well, you got all these white heads of state getting out, treating respect and whatnot, and you got the African leaders like they got them like they're gonna do like they're gonna be runaways or something. What do you think those African leaders are gonna run and try to hide and be in your country? No, they got a country to go back to, but you treat them like animals. And this is 2022. It's like, when's Africa Day gonna come? When's the Black man gonna rise up? Because we as an African American man, we're nothing until Africa rises. We're nothing. This is why Randall Robinson always says, until Africa rises, the Black men in the world are not gonna rise. So we could sit here in America and call yourself ADOS, FBA, nonsense, everything. Until Africa rises, right? You are nothing to them. You are nobody to them. Until you have your homeland, right? And that's what I am dedicated to. We're going to start with Liberia, and we're going to build the rest of the country. We're going to make sure that one day, before I leave this earth, people are going to say, wow, you guys got it together. We're going to have businesses all throughout the continent and connections between Black America and everything. And nobody's ever going to put their hand up. They're going to have to find another race of people to oppress and put down, because it ain't going to be us anymore, Because like I said, all our African brothers, strong African brothers and sisters on the continent, we're going to unify these people. And anybody talking tribalism, foolish, we ain't got time for them. The best and brightest minds. That's why these Liberian children are going to Howard University. I want to see more of that. I want to see them going to Spelman. I want to see these young kids sitting down, having a conversation about their future. Understand our ancestors did what the best they could do. Let's not blame our ancestors and everything like that. They did what they do. They got us to here. It's up to us to take it to the finish line. It's up to us to take it to the finish line and make sure that this idea of Pan-African, this idea is not just some passing thing. It's real. It's not emotional. I'm not emotional Pan-African. I'm a practical Pan-African. I'm a logical. I'll say LARP, logical, achievable, rational, and practical. I know it's practical. I know that I'm not going to become a Nigerian tomorrow. I can't become a great mono king or whatever like that. I know that, I'm African American. I accept that. My ancestors were sending some slaves and everything, Great Africa is a mono, man, right? Where we both come from the same blood. We're both from the same race, you know? So it's up to us to freaking work together, despite our differences. You know, if Asians could do it, if Europeans could do it, so can we, you know? And so that's why we're fighting hard for this this movement, this pattern. That's why Liberia. When I was in Liberia, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, man. I always tell other black people thought, oh, in Ghana, I was called a Bruni. Now I'm not taking shots at any other African country, right? Or when you go to other countries. When I was in Liberia, they just treated me like I was just one of them. You know,
Brother, his name wasn't called. They say nobody called you a foreigner.
No, not one time.
Wow.
All they kept saying, well, welcome home, bro. Well, welcome home, man. You know,
I mean, you're gonna definitely hear that in Africa, but you always have those little side conversation about, you know, like the
in Liberia. I did not hear it one time. They were just like,
okay, that's what's up.
You know what it is? Because they're so used to African Americans coming here. They're part of the culture. You know, so it's just like, you know, it's like, okay, this is a Black American guy, you know, Black American. It's no big deal. You know, it's no big, how you doing? You know, it's like they know everything about us, you know, and like they know everything about us. They know our music, they know our TV shows, they know everything about it, know our churches and everything. When you go to Liberia, it's like you're in it's like you're like in the 1970s in Black America, you know. You see the churches, you see the mosque, you know, you see all the stuff you see in Black America, you see right there in Liberia, and you see a traditional African culture, all blended in one. It's like you're in Harlem and in Accra at the same time. You know, that's what it feels like. You're like in Brooklyn, Harlem, and Accra at the same time. You know, it's only when you go to Douala, right? When I went to Douala, like the first week, right? When I was going up country, right? And we drove through Freeport, Douala. I said, I'm in Africa. You know, I was like, yo, that's when you really But they clean the Douala market out now. It's not that hard. It's not gonna be hard to get the Robertsport now because they're trying to.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know, but
Yeah.
they built these things, but a lot of people don't want them. They still want to be on the side like it is. But they built these state-of-the-art markets, right? They just got to get people to use them. You know, that's the one thing you got to push it. Look, a lot of Liberians understand now. Okay, yeah, zoning wasn't discrimination by American Liberia. There was a reason why they had zoning. So you got a lot of young Liberians saying, "Look, man, you guys can't. Yeah, hey, you guys got to go where." We got this put for a market. It was a reason.
I mean, it's not really safe, you know. I mean, you know, where your market is out there on the street, where where buses are moving. I was in Ghana trying to move around.
Yo, man, I don't know how they do it,
I was just praying that the bus driver didn't hit anybody because you know it is.
How do bus Liberians drive better than anybody? Say, how you have people coming in with those little KK cars, cat taxis, motorcycles, all.
Chaos.
And nobody gets hit.
Organized chaos. I've driven in, for example, I've driven in Jamaica. In the first place, the steering wheel is on a different side of the road. Yeah. Okay. And then they got this thing there where it's called overtaking the overtaker. Okay.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Right. So I saw that for the first time, man. I was like, what? And the guy that we were driving with, the older guy, was like, yes, he said, overtaking the overtaker straight to the undertaker. You know, I mean, it was just like, so like, I think as Black people, I think sometimes the way that we move is similar. Because because when I was in Jamaica, they asked me, I said, okay, so what's Africa like? What's Africa like? So I said, okay, so if I was to just, we're in Kingston. So if I was to just knock you out and then you wake up in Accra, Ghana, it'll take you about 10 minutes to realize that you're not in Jamaica anymore because you're going to see the same people. The only thing is you'll start understanding, you'll start hearing a different accent, different languages, but it doesn't look any different. It's because it's Black people and we have a similar beat, a similar rhythm. If you go to like a lot of people when I was younger, growing up here, they didn't believe I was African. They're like, nah, man, you from Mississippi. You ain't no African. You from Mississippi. You know what I mean? But it's because of our similar rhythm, our similar movement.
Exactly. Malcolm X talked about that. He talked about that. Black people in America, like you got these it's so far removed. No, you're not that far removed. You know, if you look at African American jazz beats and dance, everything like that, and you go to Liberia and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna see the same sort of swagger, you know, the way
Yeah.
people, you know what I'm saying? You know, the dress, the style, you know, the way people crease their pants and everything like that. It's all the same. There's a black culture that's different, you know, that's different from other people. You know, we're the same. We got so much similarities. You know, the way we do church, right? When we do church, when we do praise, jump and shout and everything. You know, you go to white people's church, what are they doing?
Right. It's different. So look, for me, when I look at it, I share with Tyler the other day, because before, one of the things that I'm doing in Liberia is, our goal is to make Liberia self-sufficient, okay, and have food sovereignty in Liberia. So some of the tricks of the devil that happened to Liberia is, people like my grandparents were tricked to grow rubber for Firestone. Okay? They were promised huge amounts of money. So we moved away from producing rice. But we're in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea, we eat rice. We're rice eating people. I haven't eaten until I have rice. Okay.
You best get the best rice in the world, bro. You gotta taste Liberian rice.
Yeah. And so it's a situation too where now we import a lot of the rice that we eat, And
have you met Armstrong Jabba? He's growing rice now and selling big bags of rice, 25-pound bags for $10, 50-pound bags of rice for $10.
Right.
He's doing. I saw some of his rice when I was there, up country. You know,
he's in Lofa. Is it Lofa that he is?
He's Lofa and Bomi, because he wanted me to go to his farm. He has go to his farm. I was there. Because of the traffic, right? It was graduation weekend when I was there. And it was something was going. I think it was graduation. It was in January, February, and something was going on. But I said, bro, man, I have to get next time because that traffic was just too bad. And so I told myself, I'll see his farm next time.
Those are all things that we were trying to basically, get our food sovereignty back. Okay, so that's what we're contributing. So I did research on it. I said, okay, so all right, I know I grew up eating rice. Ever since I came here, we eat rice every day. So, but then there's other parts of Africa where it's more yams. If they haven't had yam, or then they haven't eaten, right? So, but the history that I learned doing the research, the books that I read told me that Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea were known as the rice coast. And this is where they captured our ancestors who had knowledge in rice production and brought them to Carolinas to grow rice.
To make themselves rich.
Correct. And so I think South Carolina became the richest colony because of Carolina gold. To this day, they have rice varieties that we can't even find in Africa in the Carolinas. Okay. These parts of the world, corn was their starch. But our ancestors brought it here. When you hear about Spanish rice, there's no rice plantations in Spain. That's African. Okay. And to make a long story short, the person that I read, the books that I read was written by a lady by the name of Etta Fields Black. Okay. And so I connected with her on LinkedIn. And then 3 years later, I did my 23andMe, and it turns out that she's my 5th cousin. Okay. And she's my mother's 4th cousin on 23andMe. What was her interest in doing all this research on rice? She's a professor at Carnegie Mellon University. Why was she doing this? Because the first person in her family that was captured and brought to America from Africa told her children that she was captured while she was growing rice. And that story stayed in her family for those generations. Okay. And so she narrowed down where her ancestry must be. She figured it must be the rice coast. If that story is true, then it must be Liberia, Sierra Leone, or Guinea. Okay. So the tripped out part about it that messed me up is she's my 5th cousin, which means we share a 3rd great grandmother. So when we talk about the slave trade, the narrative of Africans selling one another, do you think my great grandmother's grandmother wanted to sell one of her kids into slavery? Do you think that it affected my family in any way? That a family member was taken and disappeared forever? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So these are like the hidden traumas too that everybody is also going through. So when we look at it,
Right.
we have to really look at the narrative and say, look at it. So I have, based on those connections, I have more than 900 African Americans that I share a DNA with. Okay. So how can I look at African American as anything other than a brother?
There you go. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. Tell out to the ADOS FBA people. You know.
That's what we're talking about, brother. And that's how me and
like,
Kyle
the
connect,
truth always
because
comes out. You know. Truth
and
always
that's
comes
how
out.
me and Kyle look at it. It's just that simple, brother. I've never heard somebody that's broken down that's sweet and simple.
That's why I said, I told you we had to have him on the show today.
It's there, and I'm not kidding, bro. The lady looks like my mother, man. Because my mom's side of the family have a strong genes, and the facial structure, everything. I'm looking at it, and I'm saying this is history. This is real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and part of the reason I did that, I put my despite all the conspiracy theory, I put my stuff out there just to see, because people want to know if we share something, at least okay, there's a small part of me that came from Liberia, that came from the Mon tribe of Liberia, and I can narrow it down there, And so yeah. So I have, let me just bring it down further. I have other people from Liberia, okay, that show up as relatives, but I have African Americans that are more closely related to me than Liberians. Just think about that.
I love it, brother.
Yeah, man. Like I said, DNA is changing the game, man. And also,
because great African, you have to, if you look at something like, like I'm from Jamaica, and some of our folks went over as part of that connection, and it's like it's more focused if we just like look at our commonalities versus the small similarities. But these people that's pushing these things, that's trying to divide our movement, putting African and African American against each other, and putting them in titles and things, and asking if Garvey was a Negropean, was he trying to colonize Africa? It's like
right.
It's like I'm telling people, be careful of these people out here. It's like we as a people, we look at the entire world. We look at like me and Kala always talk about Asia, India, all of the tribes, the different groups, the different language they had, and they realized they had to in order for them to just compete, they have to just consolidate their country and try to get our people to consolidate our resources. That's why we title it building a global black pipeline of Pan-Africanism towards nationhood.
Can you imagine what I'm talking about, the pipeline? Let me tell you about the pipeline, right? It's like this. This is how it should work, in my opinion, right? Every time, like, I believe that Liberia should build new city states and new smart cities with industrial zones, right? And technology zones and everything, right? But the thing is, though, right? I think every country should build these, right? It's like if you look at the way Asia does and everything, right? Not every Liberian is going to be part of that. Just like not every African American is going to be in the HBCU. You might be needed in a university level at Liberia. You are somebody from the Congo or Rwanda or Botswana, their technical expertise might be needed in Liberia and Sierra Leone. On those high level things, right? That's where Pan-African comes in at. It's like, if one country is lacking in engineers and this country got an abundance of engineers, well, it should be elementary that you bring those people over to your country before you bring somebody from China or India in, And this is what we want to do. And now some people say, that's racism, No, it's Pan-Africanism. We're not being racist. We're just being realists, The black race, until the black world gets to that point where Pan-African is reality and real and everything, not on a kumbaya level, but like I said last time, on a business level, Pan-African is business. It's like China and Taiwan hate each other, but they got a Pan-China-Sino agreement, They hate each other, right? But they do $300 billion a year worth of business together. Taiwan gives China most of its technologies, semiconductors and microchips and everything. China and Japan realize that if they have to have stability in the region, so they do most of their business with each other, right? And South Korea. These countries may not like each other, but they also fuse with each other to win. the black people, we basically get in our own little fiefdoms and hovels, and I don't want to deal with nobody that's not me and whatnot. Pan-African is that bridge, that pipeline that says we're going to take the best and the resources and do what's practical and reasonable and achievable with all the so we can all win. You know,
Right.
we have to build Africa and everything like that, to build Black America, because Black America businesses need an outlet for whatever they're going to produce. We need a place to produce them. You know, we need all these things. You know, and Africa is a thing. I'll say, you know how they say African American banks are pathetic, right? But what if African American banks start focusing on Africa? You know,
Mhm.
and start focusing on Africa. African American banks would grow to the size of China Bank in overnight. But right now, that because there's no Pan-Africanism has to be about reality, real, you know, and it's going to take high level thinking, you know, both in the public sector and the private sector, you know, and say, look, this is what we're doing. We have the African Development Bank, but it's not really a Pan-African bank because anyone can access it. You know, they say, well, the African Development Bank, well, who gets all the loans? Well, the Chinese use it, the Lebanese use it, the Indians use it. All these people get funded the product, and then Africa is stuck paying back that stuff because this African Development gets loans from the IMF or wherever, and we're stuck as a race paying that back, which we didn't benefit from. You know, can you imagine if we had our own logistics and everything like that, a Pan-African logistics and stuff like that? Go ahead, Graffin.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I think a lot of times we do get too caught up in being victims. You know what I mean? And we just have to do something. I'm a banker, so I know a lot about banking in different ways. But one example, Bank of Italy. There was a bank called Bank of Italy back in the day. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a time in this country where Italian immigrants were, they had cartoons and everything. So I went into one of the banks that I was covering, and met with a local organizer, and when you look at the archives, one of the letters that the bank president about 100 years ago wrote was, we need to expand our deposit base, even if it means lending and allowing Italians to bank with us. Okay? So that was the level of discrimination against Italian Americans at that time. What did they do? They formed what? The Bank of Italy. Some Italians got together. It wasn't like all the Italians. It's just a few people got together and said, to hell with this, we're going to form our own bank. Okay? The Bank of Italy evolved over time. Today is one of the biggest banks.
Isn't it the Bank of America?
Bank of America.
Bank of America, is
Bank of Italy. But that was founded because people were being discriminated against. You know what I mean? And they said they were pissed off about it, and they formed their own damn bank.
And you heard the story about that, right? One of the members of the Bank of America, right? They tried to link him to the mafia, right? And he said he broke this down brilliantly, right? Yeah, he said, look, he said, you got to say something about the Anglo-Saxon, right? The white Anglo-Saxon. And what we have in America is the Adolf's people are black Anglo-Saxons, right? Let me tell you what the mind of the black Anglo-Saxon. They see a conspiracy against everything, right? The Anglo-Saxon basically was like, he said, look, the Anglo-Saxon can't realize that we did this and we beat them at their own game. So they come up with all these conspiracy theories there to undermine it. Other than that, take responsibility. They just weren't good businessmen and we beat them, right? Same thing the so-called ADOS FBA people do, right? Immigrants come over here and they do all this stuff. They organize everything. And there's a community. So what that comes from, that's not the African mind. That's the black Anglo-Saxon mind. We think this way. Like for the young, who did Anglo-Saxons think controls it? The Jews control the money and everything like this, And so you got the black Anglo-Saxon, right? He thinks the same way. There's some conspiracy against him, other than the fact that when we do try to organize, you guys don't want to get involved. You don't want to support black businesses. You don't want to support black banks. And then when somebody else comes over here, like the Mexicans, like I said on the show last week, they got a monopoly on this labor. They're taking over the labor market. You think when you want to get something done, you got to go to the Mexican labor staffing services and everything. We never organize our labor. and like that. So since we didn't do that, right, we got to go to the Mexicans, and pretty soon we're gonna have to go to the Mexicans for manual jobs and stuff like that, which is still essential in Black America. Just day-to-day jobs. So you're gonna be talking to people. They're gonna require you to know how to speak Spanish. So pretty soon, because then you're gonna get mad at them because they said no, you weren't organized. You following after the white man. The white man sits back. He forms a Ku Klux Klan, the neo-Nazis, and everything. Instead of just being better businessmen and doing what they got to do, they got an excuse for why they're not succeeding.
Yeah, we have to do that. We have to take going back into Liberia. Why Liberia is the Pan-African capital of the world is, like I said, we were formed and we were Pan-Africanists before any other country in Africa, 50, 60 years before. We became a country 110 years before Ghana, and Ghana was the first one to become independent. You hear that, and Ethiopia was never colonized, but at the same time, we've been in this game. We've been shunned. We've had obstacles. Yeah. Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Oh yes, you're good now. Yeah, right when you're about to get into the good part of it, you froze.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was on a roll.
All right, so family, we're gonna find out what's going on with our brother. He was about to
Liberia. I was about to break down something. I hope I can get that. So what I'm saying is, Liberia, because it was not colonized by European power, is highly, highly underexplored.
And also, brother, I just wanted to see one other part of it, the occupied part of it, because the countries Ethiopia is usually referred to as never been colonized, but it was occupied. But we want to let people know that Liberia was neither colonized or occupied, which is amazing. Which is amazing, brother.
It is, and it's not because it's because people actually fought against it. I can tell you that. I mean, it might be a little bit too deep here, but because Liberia is
break it down, brother. We all learning
down to the secret societies in Liberia, they're cut across tribal lines. Okay, so that's unique. So the secret society cut across. In those days, it was more powerful. So if it doesn't matter what tribe you are, you went to the same Bush school. Okay, so whatever decision is made there is final. So if a European comes in, they cannot be a decision maker. Even Liberian presidents were forced to be initiated in order to gain the confidence of the indigenous people. Okay, so some of these things make it a little bit unique. Why? It's not because they didn't want to colonize us. It's because they just could not. It wasn't worth it. It's too complicated too. Okay.
Brother African, tell about why your grandfather, great grandfather, why he decided to, like I said, let me set this up. Yeah. Liberia, when France won, right? Your sister broke it down, right? And they won that territory against Samori Toure, the famous warrior, and everything like that. They took all that land and everything. The British were trying to colonize, take over Liberia from the Galenas on, right? And they had the Massaquoi clan holding them back and everything. And so, therefore, without your clan, the Massaquois and everything like that, and the Grebos, Liberia would have been reduced just to Monrovia. Now the people that basically bought the French propaganda and waged war against Liberia, right, and same thing with the British and everything. They were crying once they figured out that what happened. Now, people say Liberians were colonized and everything. Now, let's examine the Liberians, the Mono people, the Vi people, and all these people on this side of the border, were the British and the French and everything, and the ones that in Liberia. So you tell us about the head tax, all that stuff like that. Your grandfather, tell us about that story.
Yeah. So my great grandmother. There was a time if you look at the map of Liberia after the Berlin Conference, what we agreed to that Liberia was, it was a much bigger country.
Yeah.
But the French encroached on our territory. So my great grandmother had her husband ended up on the Guinea side. Okay, the Guinea side of what was Liberia when they took territory from Liberia. So the French initiated a head tax, meaning each and every person had to pay this heavy tax. So for somebody that had a huge family, they just couldn't afford to pay the head tax. So unfortunately, my great grandfather told my great grandmother, "You're just gonna have to cross the river and go on the other side. At least there, they just have the hut tax." Okay, so if you have a hut tax, you just paying per hut. But on the French side, you were paying per head. Okay, so when people talk about the American Liberians were taxing people, yes, they were, but then the French were doing way worse. If I have 5 people in a hut, I'm paying tax 5 times versus 1 hut. You know, so that's something where my great grandfather and my great grandmother came back to Liberia with my grandfather when he was a child, and then that's where on my father's side, the whole we started. We basically established ourselves in Liberia. Of course, my mother's, they were on the Liberia side because they finally agreed on the St. John River. Okay, but I can tell you that as a child growing up, there were songs like war songs where we were where people were singing about fighting against the French. People were singing about, if you call yourself a man, cross the river and come over here. So it was resistance. It wasn't like lay down. So these things, when we talk about Liberia, the Ma people, were only discovered, in other words, we're not really the Mono, we're the Ma tribe. But as the American Liberians decided to go inland and they came across our Pele brothers, they asked them who we were, the people that are closer to the mountains. So the Pele people said, "Oh, those are the Ma people." But when you translate that, you say Ma no in the Pele language. So therefore, went in the books as Mono. So to this day, when you say Mono, you're really saying Ma people people. When you say Mono people, you're saying Ma people people. Okay, so those are some of the things that where the American Liberians settlers gave us a good framework, and the natives also made sure that we stay free in that regard, in terms of the loyalty to the central government in Liberia eventually. So I guess that's kind of what I wanted to share.
Right. That was perfect analogy, because the narrative is that the so-called American Liberians, I hate that term, right, had their foot on your. I look at you, Naya. I can't see, even though African Americans are strong, I can't see us putting our foots on y'all now. Y'all some tough looking dudes, man. I just couldn't see that. But how the hell that happened? And so I said to myself, man, I said, these people are just so strong. And so how the hell? Then it dawned on me, it didn't happen. Then when your sister broke it down, how you guys just decided to become Liberians, I said, now that makes sense. Because there's no way in the world, even with the frontier force, that Liberia could have been held together by force.
No.
And I read the Gribbos, right? The Gribbos were like, well, wait, they had the seaside Gribbos and the hinterland Gribbos, right? The hinterland Gribbos were like, they did not like the French at all. They were like, yo, look, and also that territory from the Kavala to the San Pedro River was taken in 1892 by the French. That was after the Berlin. They just said, we're just going to take it. The reason why they took it is because we had nobody to occupy the territory. So the French took it. That area, that strip right there is actually still part of Liberia as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I'm concerned, the only reason why the French claimed it, right, and Ivory Coast still claims it, right, is because there was nobody built these settlements there. Because remember something, you had the Spanish American War, then you had World War I and everything. There was no settlers coming there to occupy the territory, and the Grebos didn't go across that river and everything like that. So that area was unoccupied. So the French took it. But Charles Taylor tried to get it back and everything. But the whole I'm trying to tell people all the time is this: when they say Liberia was colonized, no, it's not. There's a colonized means a superpower takes your land away. Liberians are the only people. I want you to talk about the land. Every time I go to Liberia, and every time I went to Liberia, right? I talk Liberian. Every Liberian I know got hundreds of acres of land. How many Americans you know with 100 acres of land?
Right. It's this. So say what you will, but like I said before, almost every Liberian has access to land or owns land. Okay, so the Constitution recognizes tribal lands. So you don't go in to colonize a country and then say that the only way
it don't even make any sense.
Tribal people have control over the land that they occupy. Okay, right. It's not that way. It's not that way in anywhere else in Africa. So in Liberia, if there's land that's not deeded, it's automatically tribal land.
And now that you know what's going on right now in Bong, the tribal people are learning about deeds, right? And they're getting rich because they're saying, okay, I got this tribal land, and they go into and register the land. They're saying next thing you know, they can get collateral, loans, everything to build everything. Nowhere in Africa is that possible. Nowhere in Africa is that possible other than Liberia. No place. No place.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like the project that I'm doing on my farm, a neighboring clan saw that, and they approached me and said, "Okay, you're also our son. We want you to bring some development here. We're going to start you off with 300 acres and see what you do. Okay, and if you do well, because we don't want our children having to go long distances to go to work. Whatever you do, you bring here, we're going to support you." Okay, so they gave me a tribal certificate, and I was able to get it deeded. Okay.
See? What I'm talking about. Great Africa's a smart man. He knows.
Yeah. And so now we have 300 additional acres with timber. There are people that do artisanal diamond mining there. Okay. But we haven't really gotten into that yet, because there's only so much time in the day. Once we get established here within the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to start operating in that area. That's closer to Senegal, just 8 miles from Senegal towards the Guinea border. So, and as we develop, the tribal people still own thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of acres. Okay. So it's not, they didn't have a big bad American Liberian come and take that from them. But in other places they do. So I'm not saying that there aren't issues in Liberia. Okay.
Mostly on the coast.
Yeah. So, but the bottom line is, if you want to do development in Liberia as a Black person, if you engage the local community, they will embrace you as a son, and they will give you an opportunity. Okay. They will give you an opportunity. You just have to go through the process of doing that and be truthful to the people, because once you start working with them and they see that you're bringing development, they love it. That's basically what it is. So just based on doing operation on my dad's, property that I've inherited, other people wanted me to come into their area. So now, so we have that project, being loaded. We also have some other projects that we're looking at in the Lowland Swamps in that same area. 1/5 of the landmass of the Republic of Liberia is Lowland Swamps, which is great for rice production. Okay. So that's another area of development and investment that if we have some farmers from the diaspora that want to go and do something, that's something that's very, very easy to do. The lowlands, you can develop them, you can lay it out, and you can have 3 crops of rice every year, just by laying out the swamps. Okay. So a lot of opportunities in Liberia, from a business standpoint. but we just have to do it. I can't go to Ghana and get 300 acres like that.
Yeah, no.
I'm not no offense to my Ghanaian friends, right? But you can do that in Liberia.
Yeah.
You can do that in Liberia. It gets
especially
tricky.
if you're Black American, you know.
Yeah.
I was told when I was there, they said, yeah, they want to encourage African Americans, Black Americans, diaspora, Jamaicans that got skills and everything, do what great Africans doing, you know. To particularly in the upcountry and everything like that, you know, there's a lot of opportunity and to do a lot of things and everything. Like I said, you're participating in the development of your homeland, you know, same way the Jews participate in the development of Israel, you know, and like I said, on that level right there, that's hit the ground running. Then later on, you know, we start talking about building technology and industry and stuff like this, you know, so it's a long-term process right there, which is laying the groundwork now that in the next generation will come up and say, wow, we're going to take it to the next level, you know, and build, you know, so everything starts with some parts, you know.
Let me just break down this thing. Okay. For example, just an example of learning from one another from a Pan-African standpoint. I mentioned earlier that my wife is Kingston, Jamaica born. So I've been to Jamaica probably 15 times. So I have an interest in agriculture. My whole entire generation, I come from a long line of farmers, and some of whom were slaves. Yeah. Okay. So now I picked up some ideas in Jamaica, right? So for instance, we did a ginger project. We did about 5-acre ginger projects in Jamaica. And we observed that a lot of they grow a lot of ginger in the shade houses. Okay. Ginger like shade. So then did some research. We're able to get some of the shading materials in Liberia. So on my farm, I basically am duplicating what I learned in Jamaica when it comes to growing vegetables in a shaded environment. Okay, so we did some stuff like that with tomatoes. We've done some stuff like that with collard greens. What happens when you do that? The pest is not as crazy because it's in a shade. It can't get through. And when you get in, and you can open it and go in. So that's stuff that I picked up from Jamaica. What else did I pick up from Jamaica? I picked up. I connected with CARDI, okay, Caribbean Agricultural Research Development Institute, where I've ordered seeds like hot pepper seeds. And Kala, as you know, I mean, Liberians love hot food, right?
Yo, bro, you got to chase the Liberian spices, man. They put spices on everything, you know, the fish, the rice, everything. It's delicious.
Yeah. But in Jamaica, they also like spicy foods. But in my view, the Scotch bonnet pepper is probably the best pepper in the world that I've ever cooked with in terms of the aroma, in terms of seasoning up foods and everything like that. So what am I? I'm introducing that. So that's Pan-Africanism on a business tip. Okay. So if we look at it, so like with my American brain, I look at things a little bit differently when I go to Liberia. Okay, so I'm looking at it, okay, so I have this farm. Well, why not turn it into like an eco tourism? Why not have a food forest? Okay, these are things that I pick up, here in America. And I've also picked some elements of that up in some of the resorts that I visited in Jamaica. So what does that do? It makes me a better business person because I'm open-minded enough to go to other Black countries and interact with other Black people, take those ideas and make them mine and implement them.
Right.
So what's wrong? So I'm just saying, we can stay in our own bubbles. I can stay in my Liberia bubble and say, oh, yeah, we got the best peppers, we got the best spices. But knowing full well, other people have something that I can now introduce to enhance what we already have. Right.
Right.
So when you look at those things, so I mean, when I went to Jamaica, they always jerk chicken. They jerk chicken, and but with goat, the only thing they do with goat is curry it. So I'm like, why is everything curry? We killed a whole goat and y'all curried the whole thing and made mannish water. So what I did is we had a juvenile goat and I Liberian style seasoned it and grilled it, and they blew their mind that you can do that with a goat. Right?
Right.
So that's just exchange of information. Okay. When I have people come over here and I make jollof rice, okay. So like my American friends, they love it. They're like, oh wow, this is interesting, you know.
Tell us about the jollof rice. Tell us about the jollof rice. It's like you're gonna insult some people tonight. You're gonna hurt some feelings tonight. But tell us about jollof rice.
The first thing is Liberia has the best jollof rice, period.
Brother, I was about to say Senegalese got the best jollof rice, then the Gambia, then Ghana. I was just messing with you.
No. Okay.
I'll tell you the origin.
The closest thing to the best jollof rice is Senegal. Okay, the Senegal, because obviously that's where it's from, and it's so deep that the original people that have the jollof rice, and they use a lot of the variations of it. They use garden eggs instead of tomatoes. Okay, because tomatoes is not indigenous to West Africa. Okay, so that's how deep that goes. But Liberia is somewhat. It's like it all depends on the chef. But the best jollof rice I've had comes from Liberia. We had Africa Fest here in Madison, and I was messing with the Gambian guys, and I tried their jollof rice. I tried the Ghana people jollof rice, and I shook my head. I was like, man, look, I make it better than this, and you're selling a commercial, and I'm an amateur Liberian making the best jollof rice in Madison. Yeah. So, but you know, so those are all things. Jollof wars, we have those. Some of the foods that we have, these are just very, very good exchange. I made Liberian style. We had a few years ago, we had an event, Men Who Cook, and it's by a sorority, aka sorority puts it on. It like they raise money to give scholarship to kids that are going to college. So I went in there and made my Liberian style collard greens. Number one, everybody tried, blew their mind. You know what I mean? So, because the way that we make it is different. It's not like we don't take the collard greens and put a whole bunch of water in it and boil it up with, you know, ham hocks. We have it, we do that, but we fry it. You know, we do it different. And when I made it, and all these African Americans tried it, they loved it, and I won. I still got my trophy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's Pan-Africanism. That's sharing ideas.
Right. Pan-African. That's real. That's what we discuss on this show. Real Pan-Africanism, not nonsense Pan-Africanism, not like that. It's connecting together, you know, understanding that we're Black and we're African, that we share a common heritage and everything, and we're not as far apart as people say. We have a lot of similarities in our foods, our culture, family, and all stuff like this. And we need to get those values back, you know, the things that made us strong. Like I said, when I went to Liberia and I'm around Liberians, it reminds me of the one time how Black America used to be. You know, I said, man, this is how we used to be. We used to be very family oriented. We used to be very, very, you know, the mothers, you know, the kinsmen and everybody like that, you know. And so this is the sort of culture that we want to be. And like I said, there's a lot that we can learn from African immigrants and everything like that, because they're big on family. They like the things that we used to treasure back in the days, they still treasure. And Black America's problem is they don't know how to be happy. You look at Black social media, everybody's miserable, you know?
We have to do, look, Colin, we talk a lot about this is what's unique about Liberia. We talk a lot about African influence in Americas and the Caribbean, okay? But what Liberia represents is also African American and Caribbean influence in Africa.
Right.
The food, even down to the food. Collard greens is
cornbread,
not something. Yeah, cornbread,
fried catfish, fried chicken. You know,
all
the
of
best
that
fried chicken I had was in Liberia.
Exactly. Oh,
so let me ask you a question. Right? Do you fry in palm butter oil? You know, palm butter. You know, check this out. My girl made me palm butter, right? Spicy palm butter, right? Red palm butter, right? Fried, cut me up potatoes, right? Fried that thing with some onions, right? And put some shrimp in there, right? That was the best fried potato. The spiciness of that the potato was so soft and spicy. They turn like a yellowish color, reddish yellow color. You know, that was the best potatoes I ever had in my. I said, if I get this recipe, I would open up a restaurant and get rich, you know, because I mean, I've never tasted fried potatoes like that in my life. You know, I got pictures of it. You know, I'll send it to you. We have best fried potato, and she fried a cassava fish. She
Right.
fried the cassava fish and the potato. She made my first meal in Liberia. You know, cassava fish, all right, and potatoes with the potatoes and vegetables. You know, vegetables with the and also inside the cassava, the potato. Right, she had little tiny shrimps that she had in there frying with the potatoes. So I had shrimp potatoes, right, with fried fish and whatnot. That was so good. My driver, right, he's like, I said, man, come on, sit down. He was like, should I read you? I said, dude, man, I'm African American, right? I don't believe that stuff. You work for me, you eat with me. You know, you sit down
Right.
and he was gonna take his plate and go sit in the corner. I said, no, sit down at the table with me. You know, and he was
Yeah.
like, supposed to be doing this. No, I said, that's the thing. You know, I'm not gonna treat you like a servant, or whatever like that. You're with me, and we're eating together. You know, so we sat there and all ate together. You know, even went out to the restaurant. My driver, he sits right with me. So these little things like that shows that, you know, that we don't forget who we are. You know,
Yeah.
we don't forget who we are. We treat people with respect, and you treat people like your brother and sister and everything like that. You know, it's about all everything is about mutual understanding, mutual sharing, and mutual respect and everything. Like I said, that palm butter, man. I
Yeah.
don't wish why
It's,
is that stuff on the U.S. shelves? Because that's what I be cooking with. I like olive oil, to tell you the truth, right? But when I tasted that, man, I said, shh. I know they
yeah.
sell that.
It's like this. So Liberia has the best food in Africa. Again, I'm just not because I'm Liberian, but it's because we have a little bit of a fusion. We have Africanized. Okay, so we have cornbread. Guess what else we have? What we have in Liberia? Rice bread. It's just like
Right. Yeah.
cornbread, but it's made with rice. You understand
Right.
what I mean? So
Oh,
what do you think? What's that?
the banana bread. I thought that's what he's going to mention. Banana bread instead of bread.
Right. It's exactly like that. It's like banana bread, but it's rice bread, you know? So I don't you probably had it, you know. So these are like different things that we can do. I can tell you this, okay? If you open up a soul food restaurant in Liberia or a Jamaican restaurant in Liberia, okay? And then you open up an Ethiopian restaurant in Liberia, the soul food and the Jamaican restaurant would do better
Mm-hmm.
than the Ethiopian one. Why? Because this is stuff that comes from the descendants of West Africans. So we have a similar taste. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then, not to take anything away from our East African brothers and sisters, but they have a different tradition. They drink milk and stuff like that without getting lactose intolerant. We do, you know what I mean? So it's just culturally, you're going to see these similarities when you go to Liberia, when you go to Africa. You're going to see people that you're going to do a double take that look like somebody that you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I said, I can't tell the difference between Liberia. When I was in Liberia, I can't tell if, like I say, it's like going to North Carolina, Norfolk, Virginia, and whatnot. I can't tell the
Right.
difference. You know, black people, there's all different shapes, shades, heights, body types, everything like that. It's black people. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah. I said, man, this is what I'm talking about. You know, and I was like, and the kids are real respectful. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, I don't see any people arguing with each other and whatnot. They do, you know, arguing with her, but it's not nothing like that. Hey, you, screw you, F your mother. Blah, 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 blah. They'll go, okay, fine, see you tomorrow. The
Right.
friendliness of the people, and I'm saying to myself, I've never seen children smile like that in my life. The kids are so happy. And I'm saying to myself, man, I'm not gonna keep knocking Black America, but sometimes you have to. For little what the little the kids have, right? So I say, look, I said, look, what little they have, and they're so happy and everything. So it shows me Liberia has the best treasure. Liberia has everything is its people. Is its people. It's wonderful people that love life, love their country, and everything like that. And the fact that I'm seeing now that Liberians now embrace their dual heritage. They'll be like,
Mhm.
yeah, some of our ancestors came from America, some of us here, and our ancestors, they'll say those Congo people anymore. It's like
Right.
our ancestors from America. That is groundbreaking because that has to do with all the work we've done on the internet everything to fight this battle, right? Because the narrative, right, that's been given to us was, oh, black, just like when you go to any country in Africa, right, you'll see Igbos and Yorubas generally get along, right? But the official narrative is, oh, yo, the Igbos, the Yorubas, everything. That's those people who, the Negropeans and the white people who want to keep us divided and everything. But you go to their countries, you're not allowed to talk about the Irish Catholics in Northern Ireland and the Irish, you know? Oh, that's not your business, you know? As far as you're concerned, Ireland, we're white, you know, you don't need to know. But yet they go always picking out our differences and everything. Like, we don't have the intelligence to say, yes, we have differences. Yes, we have problems. Yes, we are like that. But the bottom line is, the bigger picture is, we're trying to build our African continent, our heritage and everything. We're trying to put it together, you know?
Well, perfect. And at that point, I want to find out if you guys are open to any questions and things like that.
Sure.
Yeah. Bring someone on. This is now. Why isn't Collar investing in Liberia? How does this guy know what I have in Liberia? You know?
Yeah. And let's give the disclaimer, because I don't have time to play games with people. Anyone that's coming on, come on and ask a serious question. We'll give you a serious answer, right. And then you can ask another question, or the next person can join. But it's just quick questions on and off and things like that. So appreciate everybody for sticking around. I'm gonna post the link right now.
Yeah, we want a serious question. We're talking about Liberia. You know, people talk about a lot of other African countries. I know about a lot of other African countries, but you know, like Liberia, despite everybody what they talk about, Liberians seem like they got it together. They got it together better than like what I'm seeing online. You know, what I'm seeing online, I'm just going by what I see online. You know, I see Liberians seem like they're the happiest people, the most optimistic black people on the planet. You know, it has something to do with the fact that they weren't colonized. It has to be like that, you know.
Yes, brother.
And
brother,
think about the indigenous Liberians,
great
right?
point.
Not only weren't colonized, they were not taken in the transatlantic slave trade. So you definitely have a free mind right there that you could build with. Like Great African right here. This guy is basically like a treasure, you know. It's like, you know, because he don't have the defeated mind. He comes from people. He knows his history and everything like that. But you know, a lot of times our people, man, they're still they're talking about, oh, we've been colonized, but why are you mourning over the Queen of England? I just don't get it. You know, you're mourning over the Queen of England. You're talking about we were colonized. You know, I don't get it, man. I just don't get it, man. I'm glad we don't have that in Liberia. I thank God, no matter whatever happened in history, the British never raised their flag on Liberian soil. Liberia, psychologically, you know, have that going for her, you know. And the bottom line is this: the fact that I know indigenous people got land, they got land protected. There's no Afrikaners. There's no. Can you imagine what Liberia right now? Cyril Ramaphosa sat down with that idiot Joe Biden. Can you imagine? That's our president, Joe Biden. You know, he sits down with Cyril Ramaphosa and he said, by the way, those sanctions against Zimbabwe is causing a hardship throughout the region because we got a lot of Biden, what's Zimbabwe? You know, Obama extended those sanctions on Zimbabwe on land that they took back the land that was theirs.
Right.
You know?
They're paying reparations to white farmers that took things over from black people without giving them anything for it.
But yeah, everybody hates Liberia. You know, everybody hates Liberia. That's what I would like somebody to explain to me. You know, Namibia, the president of Jumo, when they gave him president, right? Do you know the whites still hold most of the land? The game parks, the Capri, the Diamond Strip, the Capri Strip, the Diamond Coast, and everything, all restricted land. How can you be restricted? And you're supposed to be in the government. You can't. This is restricted land. Diamond coast, all the diamond coast and everything is restricted. You know, and the white people still own all the national parks, all these big. I see this white girl, blonde girl chasing a cheetah. No, that should be a sister with some braids in her head and whatnot. You know, coming out with the cheetah, the Himba girl, right? You got some blonde, blue-eyed white girl and whatnot with a cheetah and whatnot. Come on, man. You know. And so I'm not knocking Namibia. They gotta do what they gotta do. Same thing with South Africa. White people own all the farms. They own the stock market. They own everything. That's what was avoided in Liberia. You know?
Exactly.
So the bottom line is we have something to build. Hey, great Africa. Before we bring people on, what about banking in Liberia? What about banking? What about the prospect of opening black banks and everything like that, so we can start this money transfer to the continent?
Here's the thing with Liberia. What Liberia needs, Liberia, like any other developing countries, based on what I see, there's an opportunity for actual banks that that people that are trustworthy and have good customer service and excellent technology. Okay, because like I do banking, so I have banks that I have to deal with, and so like the transfer system isn't that good. Trying to transfer from Liberian dollars to U.S. dollar is not something you can do within the banking system. So there's a lot of opportunity there to gain market share. The first banks that go there and have real customer service. We have banks like EcoBank, we have LBDI. These are all okay, but they're not. There's a lot to be desired. There's a lot of opportunities there as well. In just for banking. So it's to the extent where people are involved with informal banking called susu, right? So everybody put their money in the pot. So when these guys, when the people that are involved in susu, when they take their money out of circulation, like the banks don't have money. Okay. So we're really relying on ancient forms of banking within ourselves. So when everybody organizes themselves and they're saving all their money wherever they're saving it, and it's not in the bank, and then you go to the bank, there's no money. So those are some of the issues, the constraints that you run into in Liberia. Those are some of the problems that you can solve to become a successful banker in Liberia. If you did a banking system where I can sit here in America, where Liberians in the diaspora, where you can easily transfer money and you can have interchanging, have your account that's no different than leaving Chicago and going to New York, and you still have access to your money that way easily without some weird constraints. That would be a way. That would be something to get into, in the banking sector.
That right there would be a game changer. Can you imagine? What about I years ago, right? I talked to somebody that wanted to start a black stock exchange, right? And I told him Liberia was a perfect country, but never came out an honest stock exchange, right? And he was actually a member of the Community of African Stock Exchange, COMESA, Community of Africa, East Africa, but there was an African Stock Exchange Association. He was registered with that, right? But he said he was looking for a country, and I was like, that was like 10 years ago, and I was trying to get him to go to Liberia during the Sirleaf time period and everything like that. But Liberia needs to get its own stock exchange, its own commodities market and everything, floor trading system and everything, and basically get to the point where you could put capital into the country directly and to develop that right there. I'm looking for Liberians to start talking about and organizing. That's very vital.
The banking, that's important. There's so many things. So for me, my focus is first the agriculture stuff. I wanted to get to the level where everybody that all the pepper that people are using in the country is coming from my farm for the most part. So that's the growth and vision that we have. I look at it from it feels good to go to Liberia, have a debit card, okay, and use my debit card from my farm, where revenue is, and be able to check into a hotel, pay for food with money that I made in Africa, spending money that I made in Africa. Okay.
And that's how we keep the money inside of Africa. And we keep doing that, man, billions of dollars will flow through the average Liberian hands and everything like that. It'd be a game changer. We could build a new airport in Nimba, and we could build a new airport. We got people coming in, and also I always like to see offshore banking, inshore banking, where people are putting in gold, like Liberians are getting into gold, but they're striking gold, but they're putting it on the London exchange. Everything. I guess you have to do that to get monetization. You heard about that? The Liberian
Yeah.
gold bullion and everything like that. But there's so much opportunity where if you do gold refinery and gold bullion, you can set it in the Liberian reserve for a period of time, right? And then before you put up to the Lords of London and everything like that, so you get interest off it as it's coming in. You know what I'm saying? Like let's say if it's 24 hours, gold comes in, sitting in the bank, you made interest off it in like one day, and then you say let's shift off to the Lord, you put it in the U.S. Reserve or the Lords of London Reserve or stuff like that. So it's all types of idea. Liberia got plenty of gold. From right here, Liberian gold ore is more gold per ore than Ghana's. Not knocking Ghana, but Liberian gold is more, like I said, per scoop. There's more gold concentrate in Liberian ore than
it becomes, when it comes to iron ore that's coming out of Mount Nimba, is the purest iron ore in the world. There was a time when Liberia, the only issue that's where we need complete industrialization. We need to be able to own the production process of our resources, and that's true all over Africa, all over the Black world. Once we can own the means of production.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question. Right now, Cyril Ramaphosa just signed a deal with Joe Biden to shut down its coal mines. Coal, it made South Africa energy independent. South Africa has so much coal, right, for steel production and electricity. Now, because he signed on to the Green New Deal, why in the world is he shutting down, is going to stop coal production? All this stuff people don't understand. Then there's some scientists come out and said, we're actually colder. Despite the climate change not happening, the earth is actually cooling. But Africans are basically buying into the idea of this because they don't want Africa to industrialize. It's simple as that.
Exactly. So what we can do as far as Africa goes, for example, we leapfrogged when it came, the cell phone technology. You don't have to go and put millions of miles of telephone cables in the ground, right?
Right.
So in terms of, for us, even on our farm, we want to become energy independent. But that's not because it's because of climate change or anything like that. It's because we want to prevent, we want power 24 hours a day. So we're going to go to solar and wind.
What about micro hydro dams? We have people that want to build hydro dams, micro dams, they work really good.
Hydro dams are good. So like for me, my concept is I want to do a subdivision, but I don't really necessarily believe in large transmission line moving power from one place to the other. When I could just do a 10 kilowatt solar panel with batteries and fire up my house. So if somebody blows up the dam, I still got power.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have a backup, and stuff like that.
Yeah, because like with solar, like for my mother's house in Monrovia, we got the solar thing. We're in the process of setting it up, but it's solar. The sun shines, and then you have wind. So basically, you have the batteries to be charged. So why do I want to go build a massive dam and have power transmitted over hundreds and hundreds of miles at millions of dollars? But that's just a philosophical thing for me. I just think if I have my own oasis, I need to be in charge of everything, including my power, and I don't want to pay anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like we're looking about, subdivisions that you can do that with.
Yeah. And Navigate says Liberia don't control it. Who controls it? Liberia. Nobody's controlling anything in Liberia.
You have a lot of these guys that think that they're specialists. And great Africans here. And I'm trying to get somebody to ask intelligent question.
Yeah, and I'm ready to answer any questions that anybody has, because for me, I talk from straight up experience and what I do what I say.
Absolutely. Because that's the life I live to. When I tell people that we talk about Black Power, Pan-Africanism, nationhood, organizing, we're active people here, family. So if you got questions, you can come on the panel, ask a question, and you can also post a question with a nice super chat.
Mhm.
Yeah, people. Like I said, you got Brother Bomani doing it, right? Soon to be in Liberia. You got Great African here doing it, and like this. The bottom line is people doing it, right, that you don't know about, right, doing spectacular things. And we're about to take it to the next level. You still got people going, you can't do this, you can't do this. These are the people that don't do it, have never done anything with their life. They never accomplished anything in their personal life, right? So
Right.
they think everything's like some big mountain they got to move it. Sometimes you just got to do it.
Exactly.
I
mean, and that's it. That's why I tell people it's been that simple. You just got to put work into it. People just think things is gonna happen. So we talk about repatriation. I brought over 500 people to the African continent, and probably another few hundred more through this. My influence and connection and network.
That's
But
good.
it's like we have something that we're trying to achieve. So it's like we're going out there to do the work. It's a lot of responsibility and things, but it's like we're telling people like, hey, family, if nothing else, come on one of the journeys. That's why we're telling everyone.
So we don't need a lot of people, man. We don't need a whole lot of people. Look. Let's look at our brother, the late James Stewart. Okay, he didn't go to Liberia with an army. He didn't go to Africa with an army. But his legacy is the African Union. Okay, that's his legacy. So we just need a few like-minded people who are willing to be focused and dedicated to a cause. And there's nothing wrong with doing something in this day and age to make huge amounts of money in the process.
Hey, Great African, your sound went down. Something happened to your sound?
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Well, no, it went down. The volume went down, something like that. So I hear a difference,
Sorry about that. So, yeah, I think I'm power.
Well, we can hear you though. Go ahead.
You can hear me. That's good. So, basically, all I'm saying is that you don't need an army. You just need some a toehold, gain a toehold, a few solid partners. Okay, people that are willing. So I've been sitting here working, putting my kids through school, and still operating a business with a couple of key people in Liberia, right? That you can't trust everybody 100%, but as long as the progress is being made, as long as I can go to Liberia and know that, okay, yep, I'm everything that I'm spending here is being based on us selling palm oil to Ivory Coast, is being able to sell vegetables on a local market. That's good. And then employing 15 people at the same time. So that's what I can do in my own limited capacity in terms of being in two different, having a foot on each continent, right? So I'm here in America, I have to be here, but at the same time, I can't wait till I get old to start doing what I want to do. But if we get some key people, some key partners that want to do something, we have the land. If you want to build an oasis, you're talking about places like industrial zones. We can do all of that. We don't have to worry about going to the government to say, oh, can you give us some land to do this? Can we get this? No, we have it already.
Yeah. I was trying to tell Bomani, I said, look, man, we have, and with all the people in Liberia that I know, we got hundreds of acres, man. My boy William, he says uncle got he says, man, he just showed me a map of Bong County and whatnot, and Cape Mount. He said he had all that land out there, and it's his, man. And that's the prize of Liberia. The indigenous Liberians are the biggest winners in all this because they got all that land. None of that land was ever fell to the British. It never fell to the French and everything. They can go back to their country and build and do whatever they want. They don't have to worry about the Queen, and the Queen. There's no Liberian gold sitting in the Queen of England's vaults,
No.
So
it's about it is. It's we weren't colonized. So when you talk about some level of so-called development, I say so-called because there was some infrastructure which the former French colonies are still paying France, by the way, for the so-called infrastructure. We in Liberia, basically it's the wild wild west in the sense that you can do what you want to do. If you're a smart business person, you can do something, you know. So but it's a best kept secret. Whether we get more people joining us or not, we'll have our little Liberia.
Fine, bro.
You know.
I'm getting my part, bro. I'm gonna get my
Yeah,
piece.
brother,
You know,
we're
and
there
people
with
sit
you.
back.
That's why we appreciate having you on, brother. And what I
Yeah.
want to add a guest in, and you know what I like for us to do when we have guests in, just let them just share what they have to
Yeah,
share,
I'm
and then
mute.
we turn around and then we educate them, because that's what we're here to do. Because we're the ones that have the experience in trying to do things in Africa. So you put the three great minds together. You know, we have a lot going, and really appreciate all the history you've broken down and everything. You know, and likewise, Kyla, as usual. So I'm hoping that everybody got a lot from what we've talked about. Now we're going to open things up to some questions and some answers. So hopefully we can have a few people bring it. I'll repost the link, and well, it's just right there. Just scroll up just a little bit, and you'll see the link. All right, Navigate. Welcome to our conference call. And let me know if you have a picture or a video. Navigate. I only can see a backyard.
Well, it's quite dark in here, and I don't want to turn on the lights. So
You didn't pay the light bill, man. You didn't pay the light bill.
I don't have a light bill. I have solar panels.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's good.
Solar panel on your hut.
So,
Okay.
so Navigate. You had a lot of both. You have a lot of things that you said. I'm gonna post what you mentioned, and this is just for the purpose of you know, for my brother.
My guess.
Fishing with you. But you said this is one right there. Hopefully everybody can see your comment.
Well, Liberia, you know, just like is no different from most West African countries. You know, West African countries, they control their land, and they have plenty of land available for any entrepreneurs that's willing to come there and secure the land and develop it. So there's nothing, you know, special about Liberia as far as land is concerned. And
Wow.
and
Are
as a
you
matter
kidding
of fact,
me? Wow, man. Wow.
it's no different from
Try
any
go
other
to
country
Sierra
in
Leone.
West
Try to go
Africa.
to Sierra Leone and get land. See what happens. You know.
It
Try to go to
kind of
Guinea.
also
You know,
let's
why
let
all
him,
these people in Ivory Coast are in Liberia right now?
yeah, let's let him talk some more, because I want him to fully, because he had a few
Okay.
things.
Yeah, go ahead and fully.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
brother.
go ahead.
We'll listen to you, Navigate. And also, do you have a picture?
What
that
I'm
you can...
saying, no, I don't have a picture. What I'm saying is that the land, you know, in West Africa, there's opportunity all over West Africa as far as land is concerned. Liberia is not the only place where land is available. I just want to see more Black Americans, you know, take advantage of the opportunities that's there in West Africa. You know, go to Liberia, and like my cousin, he came to Ghana. He wanted to be the first one in our family to come to Ghana. He wanted to beat me here. Therefore, you know, he stayed in the hotel, and the first beautiful African woman he met, he married her. Bang! You know, he only stayed for 4 days, and she happened to be a Liberian. You know, a Liberian girl, like Michael Jackson, you know, would say. And they got married, and you know, and back and forth from the USA. He's not quite ready to retire yet, but he's building in Liberia. And you know, the economic exchange rate in Liberia at this time is the economic of opportunity is better in Liberia than in Ghana. You know, because Liberia, you know, is not as developed as Ghana, and Liberia's money rate is not as high as that of Ghana. Right now, Ghana, you know, the exchange rate is 10-1. You know, and so Liberia is even more depressed. But Liberia had not recently had a war, you know, that decimated the country. So Liberia is a great opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I've never eaten the food there. I've met some Liberians from Monrovia, and just like
your background. Can you turn off the TV, please, or put it on?
Say that again.
Is that a TV in your background? I hear a TV or something.
No TV in my background. There's nothing on here.
Can you guys?
I hear that noise too. You know, I don't know where that's coming from.
Everybody, can you mute yourself and let that way we can hear navigate.
I'm on.
I muted myself and I still heard that noise.
We can hear
So
you
it's
clear
not
now.
coming from here.
We can hear you clear now.
Okay, and I was about finished there. Monrovia. I've met Monrovians. I would love to go to Liberia. I hope to do that one day. Liberian people seem wonderful, like most people in West Africa. So the opportunities is there for us Black Americans, to stop talking, and bring whatever resources we have to bear, and take advantage of some real great opportunity here in West Africa.
All right, perfect. And I'm trying to find the other one that you had for Kali. He was asking him about, asking him if he has any business in Africa.
Yeah, I've never heard him say he had any money, economic business in Africa where he put his money where his mouth is.
I'm trying to find the exact comment.
Well, that's interesting.
This is it right here. Why is
like,
Kala not investing money?
My money's in
Liberia?
Liberia when and to be honest with you, man, I support her, and her family in Liberia and whatnot. That's investment right there. The bottom line is this: I have people that are business partners in Liberia and whatnot. We're just waiting for the right time and everything. I'm incorporated in Liberia. I have a corporation in Liberia, right? And I have a couple of properties listed under my corporation in Liberia. A couple of properties I was given to the BIO in Liberia and stuff like that. It is a matter of time when the thing is, you gotta say it's about me, right? I'm not online soliciting money from people. I've never taken a dime from anything that I have that I like that. I came out of my own pocket.
You have another device on. There's a feedback.
No, I don't have. It's Great African. Are you muted?
I was muted. I'm gonna mute again. That's not me.
All right, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, it was you, Navigate. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, the bottom line is this. I tell people all the time, right? I'm promoting Liberia and everything like that, but I tell people all the time, do your homework, right? I have people on the ground, partners on the ground, Great African knows them and everything like that, reputable people, lawyers, everybody like that in Liberia. And when we talk about investing, don't invest with your emotion, okay? Go there on the tour. I've always said, hey, before you go to Liberia, come on this tour with us and everything like that, and understand the country and everything. It's different from a lot of other places that you've been to, okay? You're gonna see a lot of familiarity and the people and stuff like this. This open a business in Liberia is not hard. That's why I'm not pressed, because it's so easy. It's so easy to go get land registered and everything like that, and get your land title and everything. It's just so easy. I have a couple of people at BIO that have properties now and stuff like that. I have one guy, Mr. Overton, that I'm part of, right? If you really want to know, that's building a technology school in Liberia. Okay, Mr. Elder Overton, he's building a technology school in Liberia. I help broker
that. That's his money. That's not yours.
I know, but what I'm saying, you understand how the BIO works, right? Navigate. If you sit back and be quiet.
I understand how it works. Well, I'm talking about your money. What do you invest?
Hold on. Look, what I do is, like I said, I'm a broker, right? Somebody's interested in this. Somebody got this. I put two and two together. I didn't even ask for no fee or nothing like that. I just said, make sure it gets done. You want to build this? This person got land. This person got property. This person wants to build money. I put the people together. They work on it. I'm about nation building, right?
We're doing a corporate venture. I mean, it's a bunch of us connecting together, navigate. We're stronger together. Like our brother, Great African here.
I know eventually, we're gonna. My corporation, Bami's corporation. One day we're gonna have an aha moment. Then we're gonna go to the Great Africa and say, "Wow, we could build this and whatnot." And we're gonna have the.
We all think like that. We all think like that.
That's not no we. You're in Ghana.
We all think that we're gonna succeed in the end. No. But some of us is putting our money right now where our mouth is. Our money.
Navigate, right? Navigate. What you're doing right now in Ghana, that's different. We're doing something that we're actually trying to build.
I understand. I understand. I'm not saying it's wrong or it's bad.
Hold up.
It's cool. It's cool.
Hold up.
Anything you do to develop Africa is great.
Hold on. We're not talking. Well, we don't care about what you think. We're doing it regardless.
Well, I'm telling you what I think, whether you care or not.
You know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is this. And
I think you should put your money where your mouth is. Your money.
navigate. Be
Stop
quiet.
playing
Sit,
with other
you know,
people's
sit
money.
down. Sit down. So in other words, basically, it's like this. We're saying, hey, this day we have all these people in this. I formed a group called the Association of African
We
Americans.
heard that already.
I got
Yeah,
all these.
I mean, everybody
Navigate.
has their ways of how they're doing their investment. So I wouldn't attack another man for
Yeah,
how he does his business.
I wasn't attacking. I told him that, but he attacked me.
Well,
you know?
no. I'm
Hey,
saying
we
you
don't
said,
want to hear what you got to say. Whatever you do in West Africa is great. You know, I understand what you're doing.
Hold on, you
Whatever
posted a
whatever you
comment,
do to
right?
develop West Africa is
Hold on.
great.
First of
That's
all,
what I
hold on,
said. But you ain't hear
First of
that
all,
part.
first of all, I don't care about that. You know, the bottom line is this: you came on Navigate saying Kyle's never been to Liberia. Yes, I have. You know, I spent over a month over there. You know, you haven't been to Liberia. When I got engaged over in Liberia, you know, and my wife, everything is Liberia. My family, and I got a Liberian family in Rhode Island, North Carolina. I got a Liberian family. All that. I'm part of a Liberian family. You know, I'm not just somebody talking
Navigate
about
is well
Liberia.
connected to the country.
I'm well connected, bro. I'm to the highest levels. You know, people
Wonderful.
know. You know what I'm saying? So bottom line
So-
is this, instead of just sitting back saying, I misjudged, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna sit down right here, eat my lollipop and popcorn and whatnot, and listen to what you guys have to say, you know?
I said I thought Carl had never been to Africa. I said I thought Carl had never been to Africa. We've had this conversation, and your attitude has been that you don't want to go to Africa. You know, I said, Bomani, you need to take him on a trip with you. I guess that was just for Ghana.
That's
for Ghana.
That's what you did by thinking, man. When you think too much, man, you know.
Yeah.
Well, all you have to
hurt
do is
yourself.
just say, "Well, I have been." You ain't have to start no
Look,
argument and get
bottom line,
contentious.
if you knew,
You didn't have to get contentious.
First of all, if you want to know about college Genesis, you go to my website. You go to all the stuff like that. Google me. You know, you'll know all about me. I'm all over YouTube, everything. You know, you don't know anything about me. You're making presumptions.
All I know is what comes out of your mouth.
They said I learned in elementary, junior high school. Never assume, right? Because if you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
There you go again. There you
so
go
let's
again.
look at it this way. Let's look at this, man. Let's talk about navigate.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So-
if you can respond back to him.
Yes. No, so all I'm saying is I like to just to go into a more positive direction, focus on you know, how, because the topic of today is Liberia. Okay, so navigate. Do you have any issues with the concept that we're discussing about Liberia being the actual Pan-African country?
Well, it can be. It's a Pan-African country. It's not the gateway, you know, to Africa like Ghana is. You know, it has Ghana is the fastest developing African country in West Africa. Liberia is not. Liberia has great potential. I like Liberia. I want to go there one day. You know, and there's great opportunity for Black Americans in Liberia. I hope Black Americans are wise enough to take advantage of it. You know, full force. You know, and don't play games and trickle it. You know, and I hope they succeed.
Well, I would encourage you. I would encourage you, because I've been to Ghana as well. So I would encourage you to visit Liberia as well. And
not
just
that far from here. That's not that far from here.
I mean,
I can visit Monrovia. I've always wanted to go.
It's less than 2-hour flight. So if you can make it, you know, somehow it'll be a good thing. I'm promoting Liberia. I'm not putting any other country down.
I'm not putting any West African country down either.
Right. So Liberia we're showcasing Liberia. We're talking about the opportunities that Liberia presents and the historical relevance of Liberia to African Americans and Africans in the diaspora in general, and the fact that the legacy of Pan-Africanism is Liberia. So when we talk about Booker Washington Institute that was built in Liberia in 1929, you know, 30 years before Ghana became a country, those are the things that we're talking about. And there's very little known about Liberia. It's not to put somebody that's well invested in Ghana, emotionally, financially, on the defensive to the extent of, you know, Liberia is not the only one. So we're here to educate and showcase our country. Our country, the Republic of Liberia, was founded by African Americans who went back to Africa. And that country exists to this day. That country has had issues, but that country is on the rise. That's what it is.
Great. You know, if African Americans went back to Africa and they started, you know, a nation, I guess you call it. You know, they carved it out of the indigenous territories, and they brought their Negro-Pen ways. They brought their Negro-Pen ways with them when they arrived. The colonizers don't want to face the truth. We got to face the truth about things. They brought their Negro-Pen ways that they learned in America to Liberia, and the indigenous people, you know, they weren't too flattered, you know, with how they were being treated at that time.
So are you saying
there's been issues from then on up to now? There was a recent war, but now things that seem have leveled out. In the world, the geopolitics, according to the world, is leveling out somewhat even more. So therefore, you know, I see, that
so you're
that Liberia is going to do even greater and be even better, and opportunities even greater. But the history is the history.
Hold on. You're gonna let him talk.
The history. So in comparison to what? Let's look at it this way. It's so are you saying that the African Americans that settled in Liberia were worse than the British?
No, I'm not saying that. No, I didn't say that.
King Leopold was what he did in Belgian Congo.
20 million.
No, I'm not saying that either. I'm saying
that's something that you're proud of.
I'm not proud of none of that. I'm saying that the African American, slave returners came to Liberia and started something, and they brought their Negro-Pen ways that they learned there, and the indigenous people there didn't really appreciate that at the time. That's what I'm saying.
They're not going to come from America. They're not going to come from America after 200 years as Africans.
That's true. That's what I'm saying. So that's all I'm saying.
So
yeah, but they managed to hold a republic. You know what happened to the rest of Africa?
Well, they did develop a republic, despite the native people, not being satisfied with it. They got colonized by black people. Yeah, basically.
Liberia right now, with our Western ways and everything, created a republic that protected the indigenous people from colonialism and white encroachment. Well,
you look at the economic, you look at the standard of living in Liberia, they haven't been protected from nothing. They know better than anybody else in West Africa. Well, the standard of living in Liberia is no better than
I see young Liberians building homes, everything.
They building homes everywhere.
They're building nice houses when that, the country's developing. What are you talking about? Do you know that Liberia in the 1970s had the highest standard of living in the world?
Liberians do not have the highest standard of living in the world.
Great Africa. Check this out. Liberia had the highest growth rate, right? And it said this standard of living was on par with Japan and Mexico at the time in the 70s. And those were indigenous Liberians. They had pipe-borne water and everything. What are you talking about? There's parts of West Africa that never, why do you think so many West Africans came over to cross the border to Liberia? Because they were so
I grew up, let me tell you this. Growing up in Liberia, I had teachers from Sierra Leone, I had teachers from Ghana, I had teachers from Nigeria. Okay. In the 80s. Okay. So even as that, and our dollar was on par. You're talking about 10 to 1. We were 1 to 1. Liberia dollar was a silver dollar. So no. I mean, I reject the fact to characterize Liberia strictly as the indigenous, the Black Americans went and took over and ruled the indigenous. There were issues, just like everywhere else. But what I'm saying is the issues are not in comparison to the type of colonialism that went on, the type of atrocities that were committed against Africans by Europeans. Okay, so Liberia is a great story. I'm a proud Liberian, and so like you are a proud African American. You probably, you sound like a more mature gentleman. So I'm going to give you all the respect that's due to you. But at the same time, if you're proud to be an American, you also have to know that, there was a lot of issues within this great country that we are in America, that in spite of those things, we have many, many Black Americans who pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And what the Europeans did to African Americans here on this continent, and what they did to Native Americans pales in comparison to anything, any level of injustice that was done in Liberia. Okay.
Well, that's fine. The only thing I'm saying is that the end result, you know, right now, today, Liberia is not the shining city on the hill, you know, the example to every metropolitan in West Africa. You know, the nation is the nation is not sitting, you know, so high on the hill that you know that it's not on par with the other nations,
like
you know, in West Africa.
Navigate, right? I know you're mourning the Queen of England. Do you know the Liberians don't never pledge allegiance to the Queen of England?
That's good.
Your country
that's
right
good.
now is in mourning. Your country's in mourning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, everybody in Ghana is not mourning. You know, maybe you know, and the stuff that you hear on the news, you got to realize, Tyler, that some of the stuff you hear on the news is nothing but propaganda. It's propaganda. You know, it's psychology. You got to use psychology against Europeans. You know, they're televised. You know, the Ghanaians that's worshiping, crying over the queen, but they won't. But the majority of the people in Ghana is not worrying about no damn queen.
But you know what, brother, navigate. I'm actually happy that you are a patriotic Ghanaian and that you stand up for Ghana.
I just stand up for the truth.
Well, that you're standing up. I don't think that you fully understand all the truths. So
the verifiable truth.
Respectfully.
The verifiable truth.
Yeah, well,
you know,
we can verify
your truth and my truth, your truth and my truth and Kyle's truth is most often nothing but mental and emotional masturbation to make us feel better. You know, Kyle will give you the impression that the whole nation of Ghana is in mourning over a queen, when it is not, verifiably is not true.
You know, it's like, well, Ghana president is probably on a bus too with all the other African.
He's probably on a bus.
You know,
he's probably on a bus.
That's a fact. You know, I saw the photos of all of them on a bus. You know, Kenyan president, all of them.
Some of them. You know how many Ghanaians there are? There's 30 million Ghanaians. If you see a busload, that's
I can tell you that I know a lot of Ghanaians, and I know, yeah, it's true. Not all Ghanaians, obviously. There are a lot of patriotic and Pan-Africanist Ghanaians, right? But half of what we're saying is, I'm sure there's some tongue-in-cheek, but the fact of the matter is, you're part of the Commonwealth. You know.
Well, Liberia was for a long time part of the American Commonwealth.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
It was founded by Black Americans that brought the American ways over there, you know, and tried to set it up just like the United States.
They hold that Liberia, despite all everything, never was colonized, never was run by anybody. They hate
well,
that.
That point is moot. Never been colonized. The effect. It was de facto colonized because it ain't no better today than any other African nation.
Our brother Great African owns land. You don't have to pay a colonial tax to the French like all the rest of French Africa does.
Well, you don't have to pay a colonial tax here in Ghana either.
All the French people in French colonies are paying a colonial tax. We think we had in a couple years ago in Ivory Coast where Gbagbo was overthrown and whatnot. You know, anytime somebody try to break away from the French and whatnot, the French send troops in there. There ain't no French troops ever going to step on Liberian soil. No foreign troops have ever entered Liberian soil.
As long as they obey, that's true.
Obey what? Obey what? Obey what? Obey who?
Obey the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank.
Obey who?
Obey. You know, use these credit cards if you want to transfer money through a bank. You know, you have to use the SWIFT system. You know, through Liberia, like everybody else.
Navigate. You're 65 years old. You shouldn't be talking.
That's what I'm saying. They just like everybody.
You're 65 years old. Special. Why don't you just bow out?
I'm not
just bow out, call it a night, and go to sleep because you sound.
Well, you're the one that sound like you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I'm saying that you're just trying to put you want to put Liberia on a pedestal like they're all better than everybody. That's because they didn't have
the birthplace and the rebirth of Pan.
He's trying to say
you guys ain't gonna like it.
They just as subjugated as anybody else in any nation in West Africa. There's no higher and no lower.
Okay, so navigate. Navigate. I heard your point. Appreciate it. Let me meet you real quick. All right, so gentlemen, he's basically saying that you guys are putting Liberia on a pedestal. You know what I'm saying? And I'm in between listening and things like that. And you guys' points are right on point because
let me ask you a question, right? But why should
real quick? Remember I was saying, Kyla, right? Everything you mentioned, I checked the facts. It was all facts and checked, just like what you're saying, Great African. So what analyze this for Navigate, because
the problem is this, right? It's like this. Black people around the world. I was watching this one TikTok video, right? This guy, black people around the world have this struggle, the fetus mindset. That's our identity, you know? You'll have somebody Navigate who lives in Ghana. He should be free, right? But he's still in
create a straw man and then beat him upside the head with it.
I'll say, check this out. He basically is still like, so when he looks at black history, right? He don't see black history as black success. Like George Fraser wrote a book, Success Runners in Our Race, right? The black race, Liberia was one of the successes of the black race, right? And instead of saying we was able to build this country, right, against the odds, right, while the rest of the world was colonized, right? Liberia was so celebrated that Spain made a national holiday called Liberia Day. Spain, which once ruled the world, was like wow and awe. In 1947, in the 100th-year centennial, the world said this is the black race's Lazarus rising from the dead, which inspired all these other countries. Nnamdi Azikiwe from Nigeria, Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana, Nelson Mandela, Patrice Lumumba, Kenneth Kaunda. All these people took their cues from Liberia. They went to the U.S. Embassy. Show us about diplomatic protocol. Show us how you do it. Because let me tell you something. This is the most important thing. The Europeans convinced the Africans, right, outside of Liberia, that the Africans are too tribal. They'll never be able to govern themselves. And a lot of Africans believe that. But they said, wait a minute, there's a problem here. There's a country here on the west coast of Africa run by black men. Then they create this whole America, they're different, they're American Liberians. And then when they came there, they were embraced as brothers. All these African leaders came to Liberia and said, man, it's not like this. These are our brothers. And they're able to get to America and go to black college at Union University. So the Pan-African thing was born in Liberia internationally and spread to the rest of Africa. And we're trying to put that history back in because there's a common, they went on together. That's a racist, white supremacist narrative of Liberia. The true narrative is Liberia was a Pan-African citadel of Pan-Africanism and black unity on the global stage. That's the truth.
100%. President Tolbert, the last who was overthrown, President Tolbert was the chairman of the OAU at the time that he was overthrown. At the time that President Tolbert was the president, the ANC, Liberia led the whole of Africa, to cut off diplomatic relations with Israel, because of their implicit support of the apartheid regime in South Africa. The ANC, they traveled on Liberian passport. Liberia was the first to pass a law to say that no white South Africans can step foot on Liberian soil, and other African countries started to take the lead on that. So are there systemic issues within our people? But at the end of the day, when I look at it, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that part of our history. We led the movement to free South Africa, and it cost our president his very life because he stood up. He stood up to all of those things. So you can talk about about the negative aspects of Liberia, but the fact remains that we are who we are. We're a black country. We didn't get the benefit, when I say benefit, of a colonial, rich European country to put in infrastructure for us. What we have is based on what we were able to negotiate and develop on our own. Nobody did anything for us. Even the great United States did not invest in infrastructure in Liberia in a meaningful way. But yet Liberia was the first. Liberia declared war on Nazi Germany to fight racism. There was no Ghana at that time. And when the Japanese took over the Philippines and shut down all that rubber operation that was going on, it was Liberia that was supplying the rubber for the war effort against Hitler. Liberia was where the staging area of the Allied forces during World War II for the North African operation against Italy and that particular set of powers. So this is a small little country, okay, a small black country that had that impact on the world stage. We had the audacity to declare war. Germany was our #1 trading partner. We say, you know what? To hell with you and your ideology. We declare war on you. They bombed Monrovia. We had one person
twice.
die.
Twice.
Yeah. So Liberia, the story of Liberia, okay, that's an African movie that needs to be told. That's something to be proud of.
My book, Journey to the Promised Land, one day is going to be a movie. You're going to know the history of Liberia. This book delves into the 1870s. It deals with the Massaquoi clan, the Tallbergs, and other people in early Liberian history and whatnot. You know, it's on Amazon. And the bottom line is this: Liberian story. I started this journey 12 years ago. Right, I've always been a fan of Africa and Liberia, but 12 years ago, I said I want to focus on Liberia because I saw that nobody was doing this right, and this story. And because of that, right, Liberia is probably the most trending country in the world as far as Africa. You know, everybody, and also people don't realize this, right? While Liberia was going through its trials and tribulation, the whole world was watching. You had India being colonized, right? There's a black country in Africa that's not colonized, right? People all over in Indonesia, you know, everybody around the world, the third world, developing world, we're looking at Liberia with inspiration. You know, it's inspired so many people around the world about how this country was able to send people to Europe and as equals, as diplomats and everything, and govern itself. And that sparked the whole independence movement in Africa. It said, well, if Liberia could do it, we could do it. These people started demanding their independence. Because before that, people don't understand. So had it not been for World War I, World War II, the world was still, Africa and the world would probably still be colonized. You know, because everybody, just like you see people praying to Queen England, people became Anglicized. They were part of England. You know, the fact that these people have that hold on the world today. Can you imagine what happened if they never lost their loss in World War II? All the whole.
It's great. It's really great that Liberia has such a wonderful, rich history. But you know,
right.
today, do you know what the exchange rate, you know, for a Liberian dollar is to the U.S. dollar?
Oh, yeah,
you know, the Liberian. I'm more interested in seeing the Liberian dollar, you know, increase in value. You know, instead of reminiscing over historical.
Do you have any dollars to send to the Liberian Central Bank to help out?
You're supposed to be the entrepreneur, you know, that's manufacturing and doing all things. You haven't put any money in Liberia. I have my money in Ghana. You're the one that's just praising Liberia, but you don't have your money there. You know how? Do you know how much $1 US dollar is to Liberian dollar? Do you know what the exchange rate is? It's ridiculous.
It's not. Listen. It's not, bro. Liberia, the exchange rate is about 150 to 1, and it can fluctuate. But that's relative. Exchange rate is not.
The exchange rate is pennies to a dollar. Pennies to a dollar.
Yeah.
Liberian exchange rate is pennies to a dollar.
But Liberia, we also.
So it's a great place. A great place to invest. If you got U.S. dollars, you know, like Collagenesis has U.S. dollars, it'll be wise to spend your money in Liberia. Every dollar you can get your hands on, because you'll get more for it.
If you understand exchange rate navigate, and I know you know this, you can't go to Ghana. If you say it's 10 to 1, you can't go to Ghana and buy something that will cost $10 with $1 US. Okay, it's not like that, because you're gonna go. The stuff still costs the same. Where the problem lies is hyperinflation, which Ghana is going through now.
Some stuff still costs the
way
same.
More than Liberia.
Imported stuff still costs the same. Imported stuff still costs the same. I'm talking about, you know, building up the Liberian economy and building up the Ghanaian economy.
If something costs $200 and you go to Ghana, if something costs $200 equivalent in Ghana, and you go with $200 US, you're gonna spend $200 US. That's just it. It doesn't mean that your $200 is now increased tenfold. It doesn't mean.
Well, if something costs $200, you're correct.
What?
You're correct. But labor labor in Liberia is a whole lot cheaper than labor in the USA. So therefore, you can get you can parlay the labor. Not only does that, but just the cost of living alone is less than the cost of living in the USA. So you can invest.
So what are you saying, man? Hey, but Money, I'm gonna switch phones. I'll be back on. I'm gonna come back on the thing. Okay?
What I'm saying is that you should invest your money in Liberia because you'll get a greater return. Because I'm not talking about being nostalgic and reminiscing about the history of Liberia and how brave they were. I'm talking about today. Today, Liberia, needs economic capital and investment.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
And it sounds like a great opportunity for Black Americans, you ask me, because the exchange rate is, if you're making dollars in the USA and you're spending them in Liberia, that's win-win. That's a win for you, and that's a win for the Liberians as well.
Right, because look, it's the cost of things is less, right? So, like for instance, it's all relative. You can find a place to rent for $3,000 in Liberia if you want to, but you can rent a decent place for $500. Right?
And you can build a mansion, for less than you would for a regular home in the USA.
Right, because if you spend $200,000 US dollars in Liberia, you're gonna get something very, very nice. So yeah, that's all. It's not when you were talking about exchange rates. I'm just making a point that if you let's talk about cost of living. That's a better comparison when you talk about cost of living, right?
Yes.
And so your dollar, like if I'm a retiree in the United States, I can move to Ghana, I can go to Liberia, and my money's gonna stretch further there than in New York City, as an example. Okay, or I could if I'm a retiree, my pension can take me further, maybe in different states within the U.S. than New York. It's all relative. So I can say the cost of living I can't talk about exchange rate when I look at New York compared to say Wisconsin, right? So those are all relative things. So basically, our focus is just very simple. Liberia is great. Liberia has a history to be proud of. Liberia's history predates all of these other countries. Liberia is very unique in what it presents to the world, what it is. Liberia has influence that is not just from America, but also from the Caribbean and also other African countries. Okay, and Liberia, little old Liberia. Okay, one of the gifts that the British gave us was a boat, and we, along with the British and the Americans, patrolled the coast of West Africa, fighting slavery, capturing slave ships, and returning them back to Africa. Okay, people that were caught at sea when slavery was made illegal, the slave trade was made illegal. People were still snatching people up illegally. Liberia was a refuge for them. When they were brought back, they couldn't figure out what part of Africa they were from, and they ended up settling in Liberia. So these are all things to be proud of, to characterize Liberia as, oh yeah, the Black Americans went over there and just took over from the natives, and then leaving out all the other histories of what we did. Okay, so if you look at it, if anything, the history of the United States, when you look at it, people came here on the Mayflower and did what they did. Okay, the Elizabeth that arrived in Providence Island, and what we were able to accomplish. Of course, you're going to have conflict. Of course, you're going to have clash of cultures and everything like that. That's just the bottom line. But at the end of the day, we created a nation. The first Black republic on the African continent, and we inspired the African continent to wake up and fight colonialism. We supplied logistics, not just talking. Okay, strategy. Liberia was a training ground. Okay, for people like the Nelson Mandelas of the world. All of these guys, Kwame Nkrumah, when he became president of Ghana, he came to Liberia. Okay, so if you talk about African American influence, you can't talk about African American influence without talking about James Stewart. And without James Stewart and bringing together Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toure, and Tubman, you wouldn't have the African Union. So
all that history is factual history is all true and is all wonderful, but we got to bring it forward, bring it to today.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what we're doing. So this is what some of us are actually doing things in Liberia. A lot of people are doing things in Liberia. A lot of African Americans are in Liberia. A lot of Liberian Americans are doing things in Liberia. We're just trying to shine a light on the positives of Liberia so that people understand that there is a great nation on the west coast of Africa that nobody knows about.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for those Black Americans in the diaspora, to come and invest and help build. I agree with that part, and that's what I hope.
We're looking beyond Black America. I'm looking for Caribbeans, Trinidadians.
I said diaspora.
Growing. I want Canadians. I want UK people. I want Liberia to be the ground zero of the Pan-African movement, because we can't get to Congo and Angola until we take Liberia's history, because there's a concern that let me tell you something about the scramble for Africa. People don't realize this. The scramble for Africa was really directed at the Black people who were trying to return to Africa from the West. That's why they did that. When they did that, they basically cut off Africa from the West. We got King Leopold, George Washington Williams tried to say, look, man, we're going to basically take the continent back, whatever. And the manifest destiny of Black America was to return to Africa and build Africa and basically end slavery and basically help build Africa like this. The Europeans say, yo, we got to stop that. That's why they had to scramble for Africa. Why all of a sudden did they have a scramble for Africa? So they can make an international rule that we claim these territories. When you claim a territory, you control who comes in and comes out. So Liberia was left as the only country of refuge for Black people. Somewhat Ethiopia. But what happened was this. All the UNIA, Pan-African movements were banned in the continent. How can you ban somebody in the continent? Why? Because your country doesn't belong to you no more. The only country in Africa that was basically still free was Liberia, for the most part, Ethiopia. And so the bottom line is this: and you still see that to this day, where the Western.
There's a reason why that Liberia was free. Why? Why was Liberia left out of the mold?
Why? Because hold on. I know you're gonna come with your conspiracy theories.
Yeah, let's let him hold on for a minute, Carla. Let him navigate. Tell us why, because he's the expert.
I'm asking the question why. I want Carla to tell me why was Liberia left a free country while all the other nations in Africa was subjugated. Why was Liberia,
because
so
they were
special?
Smart. They were smart.
That just because they were smart. That's why.
Yeah, this is true.
And everybody else was stupid.
That's
ridiculous.
Also, while this was going on, right, Liberians knew all about the Berlin Conference, while the rest of Africa didn't know what was going on. They didn't even know till decades later that they were being colonized. Liberians knew. They had missions in Europe. They had they was a republic. They had all these things in place. So they said, look, they made their position clear that you don't come out territory. The French took away half of Liberia's territory, but thank God the Mono people, the people of Lofa, stood their ground, and Liberia became a republic. So the Mono people, it ain't just about American Liberians. The Mono people right here, like my brother here, right here, his ancestors helped save this republic because the French were trying to take Liberia too. But Liberia, you got to sense of Liberia's coastline. It sits the way it sits right there, straddled on the North Atlantic, right, of the Gulf of Guinea.
Liberia was just like Ethiopia. There was no need to colonize Ethiopia. There was no need to colonize Ethiopia because Ethiopia was already colonized in their mind. And there was no need to colonize Liberia because Liberia was already colonized in their mind.
Okay, they're colonizing them. How they colonized? What do you mean?
What do I mean? Like in Ethiopia, when the Europeans came to Africa, they had the Bible in one hand and they had a gun in the other, and the Ethiopians had the land. And after a short time later, the Ethiopians either had the Bible downloaded into their brain or bullet unloaded into their brain, and the Europeans controlled the land.
He's misquoting.
Navigate. Did he make that up?
Misquoting. You're
Did you make
misquoting
that up? And
Jomo
Navigate,
Kenyatta.
can we just get you to mute yourself for this? And brothers, can you respond? Because I'm trying to not have him just go on and go on, because I don't know if he feels a certain kind of way. That's
Well, I'm
why.
always cut off when I got to speak. When Carlos starts speaking, he just goes on and on and on and on, and nobody cuts him off.
But I make sense
in your own mind.
All right, well, Navigate, I appreciate you. Brothers, go ahead and respond, and let me know if you were ready for someone else to come on.
See, the whole thing is this, right? Like I said earlier, didn't I say earlier? Black people can't fathom the fact that, yes, one country survived because black people have this slave mentality like Navigate. There's got to be a reason why you
go.
No, but you said there's got to be a reason. What is it, Navigate?
There is a reason.
Liberia, the reason why is because
you said everybody was stupid and not in Liberia is the only one that had sense.
Well, I said they were smart. I said they were smart.
That means everybody else is stupid.
And you said, hold on. No, you said everybody else was stupid. I said they were smart.
You said they didn't even know about the Berlin Conference. Liberia knew about the Berlin Conference, and then they didn't even know they was being colonized. That's stupid.
That's exactly
what you said.
Brother Navigate, let him just call it. Go ahead and explain.
Brother Navigate, that's exactly what happened, bro. What you call Ghana became a protector. It was called the Gold Coast. Nigeria was formed as Nigeria was really drawn up on a napkin over a lunch with a guy, Lugar, with his girlfriend. He said, "Let's create this country of Nigeria." They literally drew it up over a napkin. Said, "This is what is called Nigeria," which they usually call it nigger area. These are the people that colonized Africa were the worst of the worst. They didn't think nothing of Africans, And so when it came to Liberia, right, they never got a foothold in Liberia. The Liberians hated the British, They hate the British and they hate the French, because they
love Liberia.
That's why. Saying, the Liberians love themselves, right? And they love the indigenous people, right? They hate the white man, Something you don't forget. The white man, they saw the white man as the enemy. And the Africans didn't see the white man as the enemy. That's what happened.
That's ridiculous.
Liberian Constitution says, Article 27, no white person, only black people could be citizens on land in this country. No other country in Africa has that. So Europeans were never able to get a foothold in Liberia. This is what they do. They have some people settle there, and then they'll have an insurrection. Then they come and take over. That's like the Japanese did with Manchuria. They have some Japanese there and everything. The Japanese blow up their own rail line and say the Manchurians did it, and that's they invade the country. They were never able to get a foothold in Liberia to try something like that.
Just because Liberia made a law, you see the Europeans, respected their law, and they say you can't be a citizen here. So the Europeans say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll just go next door to Ghana." That's ridiculous.
Well, appreciate you, Navigate. Navigate. We're gonna be closing things up. So let me let you off the panel, and fellas, let's wrap things up little by little. And
but thanks for Great African coming on.
You guys go ahead and respond to. I want you to be able to respond to some of the things that was being talked about, so you can clearly respond to it, because our goal is to educate people. I appreciate my brother trying to share some information, but a lot of his information come from this
misinformation,
ignorance, or not doing ignorance, not saying in a bad way, but just not doing any research. I'm telling people that earlier, that I did my research, and what you guys talk about, the fact they're out there, it checks out. Documentary history, it's there. I spent the last 6 months studying this before I made this. Before I just kept on committing to coming to Liberian family. This is the real deal. If we work together more, we can have another incredible country in Africa where we can push repatriation and keep that bridge connected from Black America to Black Africa. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, brother.
But yeah,
go ahead.
So you can respond to many of Navigate's point without being interrupted.
Yes. The Navigate was just throwing bombs. It's just like if it's trying to discredit, Liberia, It's like basically taking the whole history of, we know that we had conflict. Okay, that's well documented. Nobody, but that is not the single story of Liberia. Okay, so to characterize it like that, and then to try to discredit Liberia based on the value of the currency and all of these different things, that has nothing to do with the points and the facts of what Liberia is. Liberia is the only country that was founded on Pan-African principle. The footprints, the fingerprints of Pan-Africanism is all over Liberia, well before Ghana or anywhere else became a country. And I always go back to BWI 1929. So that is a collaboration of Africans on the continent coming to the United States and collaborating. The concept, the disciple of a man, a Pan-Africanist from the little island of Jamaica, and then his African-American disciple settling in Liberia to carry out the vision of Marcus Garvey, and then using his connections to another disciple of Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, and then bringing in Sekou Touré to form the African Union. Okay, so at that time, those were the only three, basically the three main countries that were independent. So then what did they do? They formed the African Union for the purpose of what? Helping other African countries escape colonialism. And that's exactly what they did. So if that system, that whole thing is founded in a small country known as Liberia, then, and nobody knows this, we just need to educate people about it instead of trying to find negative and negative things. Because we can talk about, like, I live here, I'm in Wisconsin, right? We have towns with Native American names, but like you're not gonna see, you don't see very many Native American families. Okay, so what Navigate is describing, you wouldn't expect to see any indigenous Liberians walking around alive. Okay, so but he probably at some point pledged allegiance to the flag of the United States. So it would be hypocritical to then criticize a country that through its growing pains. Okay, so I for one am a proud Liberian. I'm proud of everything about our country. I'm proud of the stand that we've taken on the world stage. I'm proud of the fact that we were instrumental in also fighting Germany. I'm proud of the fact that we helped to patrol the west coast of Africa and brought and recaptured slave ships and settled in Liberia. That is a story of of perseverance. That is a story that is not duplicated at all in history. So all of this is part of who we are. We didn't have the quote unquote benefit of colonialism. We didn't have a colonial master. Liberia has been referred to as America's stepchild. We came about because people were trying, the United States were trying to solve the slavery problem. They were trying to solve the issue of free Black people in America. But we took that whole concept, and then when we decided and declared independent and became a country, the United States did not recognize us for some time. I don't know exactly how long it took, but it was the British that were the first to recognize us.
1862.
Exactly.
It was like 13 years.
13 years, okay? So it was clearly not the intention of the United States to have a republic on the west coast of Africa, but our people had the audacity to do that, okay? We had the testicular fortitude to stand up and say, you know what? When you read the Declaration of Independence, you read Liberia, the documents that made Liberia a country, and the reason why they did it, when you read it as a Black man, you get chills through your body. I don't care where you come from, okay? You will have a patriotic chills that go through your body. Those were words that were written by the founders of this country. That
Yeah.
I encourage, if you can post that up, brother Bomani, if you can post that up, let everybody read the declaration, the document that why we decided to form a nation.
All right.
Okay.
Do I have that document? Let me know if I have it, if it was sent to me. Or let me know if you want to share it from your phone or your computer.
Yeah, I don't have that. We can find that, but that's something that should be that we should
Yo,
read.
Okay.
Hillary Teague wrote that he said it also is scathing against the United States. This idea of America of love. He said we were abandoned on this coast. You left us with nothing. Hillary Teague wrote scathing against the United States. You know, he said we came to America. We was in America, built it. You didn't want us there. Then you dump us on the coast of Africa to survive for ourselves. But we're going to show the world that we could do it without you. You know, and now Liberia, like a lot of Americans, white people want to take credit for Liberia when America was fighting Liberia from day one. You know, it was actually the friends of Liberia was actually Germany and the Netherlands, you know, and Spain. The only countries that gave Liberia respect a little bit. But the British and the United States, they didn't care one thing about Liberia. It was just some place and one night they refused to respect Liberian officials. Their racism carried the whole thing. There was an incident that I wrote on my thing. I wish I could have pulled it up, right? It's called the Sodomani and Worley affairs. I wrote this on my blog years ago. It was an incident that happened in the 1920s when the United States, when Liberia was trying to secure a loan from the United States, right? Well, there was a U.S. official named I forgot the guy's name, but he was in Liberia, but he was like stronger than the Liberians. Like, I'm from America. Yeah, he was a diplomat. So he went to the interior of the country, found that this one official named Sanamani was abusing the natives, well, rightfully so. And so the government ordered him to present himself. Well, this guy took Sanamani and chained him and basically brought him back to Liberia, Monrovia in chains. And Liberians were shocked. How does a white American be able to do this, right? And what happened after that, the fallout was the Liberian government said, "Oh, although we have this American guy that was supposed to be helping us with the military, but yet the Americans in the interior made the situation among Angola worse." So what happened was they said, they declared him persona non grata, and also Liberians began attacking him in the streets. They started beating on white Americans in the streets. You know, this is the 1920s, and then all of a sudden this guy Worley was supposed to come to Liberia to negotiate a $5 million loan, right? And then what happened was the Baltimore newspaper said Worley, the ruler of Liberia and everything, and the article got shipped to Liberia ahead of his visit. And Liberians read that, said, this guy thinks he's coming over here and we're supposed to obey him and all stuff like this. So when they got there, they said, no, we reject your loan, right? And they threw him out of the country, you know, and they basically said we don't want any loan that's going to compromise our sovereignty, dignity as a free black republic. So what I'm saying is the Liberian mind is different than the African American mind, like navigate. The African American mind always expects abuse and everything like that. Liberians saying, if we don't care if we're poor, we're going to keep our dignity. We're going to keep our pride as a free black republic. And that's why I love Liberia so much and whatnot. That was what I always wanted to hear in history, that we don't need your affirmative action. We don't need your set-asides. We don't need stuff like that. We're going to stand up and build shit our own. That's what Liberia said. And so Liberia said, we'll suffer if we have to suffer, right? We could have used that $5 million loan, but it's not worth our dignity and everything. So they told the United States, get the fuck out of here. That's why I'm proud of Liberian. I'm gonna send Bomani. I'm gonna send you that link. So we're gonna play it next time we do a show on Liberia. You know, we're gonna play it next time so people understand. I'm gonna read the whole article of what happened. Because I wrote so many years ago, I can't think of the whole thing. But I read that in my research about Liberia. I said, wow, this country did that in the 1920s while the rest of the world was bowing to the United States. The United States they brought nations to its knees, and this little country told America, get the hell out of here. That was bold. So this idea that Liberia is some colony or elsewhere in America is a lie, you know? And so, like I said, people try to do like that. And also, Liberia said our security is building a relationship with our indigenous people. And that's why King Massaquoi and all these other people rose to prominence in Liberia, because they knew the key of Liberia was getting the indigenous Liberia on their side. And most of them did. You know, my brother, Great Africa, his ancestors decided, yeah, we're better off with our black brothers in Monrovia than we do with the French and everybody else, you know. So these people in the chat room talking all this nonsense and everything, they haven't read Liberian history. They don't know Liberian history. You know, they got their little things and, you know, they have more smoke for Liberia than they do about the King Leopold. I never heard any Afro dumbass and those people talk about King Leopold. I never hear them talk about Cecil Rhodes. I never hear about what they did in the western part of Zambia. I never hear about all the massacre, the Maasais that they killed and when the British killed. I never hear them say, "Yeah, what's Mau Day?" There's a Mau Day that we should be celebrating. We don't do that. All people want to do is talk about African Americans and what they did in Liberia. And this is what I say: these fake people that come into a lot of these people that interest in Africa, these Negropeans, are not Pan Africans. A Pan African, like I said, even with the coup of 1980, I'm gonna give my brothers in Liberia the benefit of the doubt that me and Greg Africa that they didn't know what they were doing. They were duped. They got some young guys and they overthrew the government. Now we realize that was a mistake. I'm willing to forgive and say, let's move forward. That's love, and that's what Pan Africa is all about. You give your own people the benefit of the doubt. You give them first dibs. You don't sit there and find divisions and little things to divide people. You come together and see where we can work together. That's the spirit of Pan Africanism and Black unity.
Yes, brother. Excellent, man. Excellent color, and that's why we're gonna connect people properly with this roots and culture journey to Liberia, so people can experience the experience for themselves and see what you have seen, and also experience what our brother Great African has been experienced, has experienced, and is sharing with us. So one of the things in our family, every time we talk about these things, I try to put it in perspective of as far as experience. It's easy to just have anybody just talk about a bunch of things and go back and forth. But you know what I mean? When I talk about my path of what we do, it's experience, and the same thing with my brothers here. Go
But
ahead,
Monty,
brother.
can you put up the banner for the Association of African Americans of Liberia? I sent you.
Right. Let me get this going. I almost got it here. And whether that is it, hopefully you can see it good.
Oh yeah, right there. This is an organization I founded years ago. Just like when they founded the OAU, they were like, "Let's just take a chance." I said, "I want to build an organization to reach out between Liberians and build this because this history was buried." And I said, "Man, we have a unique history in Liberia. So I want to form a group. I want to recruit Liberians and whatnot." It wasn't easy, man, because at first they were like, "Who is this guy, man, talking about Liberia?" Everybody and uncle hated Liberia. Everybody, now over the years, everybody's starting to see Liberians and African Americans starting to see the beauty of this country and its history and everything because we put it in proper perspective with the Association of African Americans. This group right here is fundamentally responsible for a lot of the positivity you see about Liberia right now. And so I take pride in that. That years ago in 2011 when I formed this, right, and I was like, man, I shouldn't do this. And then when I hit the publish button, I said, okay, it's the point of no return. It's a published group on Facebook. Right now, I have a group in the Ning site. My social network site is growing. People come in there and they share stuff. And you got so many African Americans and Liberians that are friends now and know each other and everything. It's like we're just one people now. We're like a new people. It's almost like the Pan Africans are forming a new community. We're no longer segregated by background and everything. So the people that want to stay in their little camps and whatnot, they're going to be left behind. But those of us who are unifying, we're becoming a new people. We're marrying with each other, we're socializing with each other, and let these people that want to study the negativity, let them go their own separate way. And we're building Liberia. I'm part of Liberia right now. I have roots in the country now and everything like that. I'm married into the culture and everything like that. So, let the people who want to talk all that negative stuff like that because we're moving forward. Liberia is moving forward. 175 years as a republic, 200 years as a concept. and it's still here, and it's going to be here 200 years from now. So either you can't, like you say, you can't beat us, join us. You want to be part of this miracle called Liberia, and do our ancestors proud because they did all the hard work and making sure this country will succeed so they can give us something. Right around the black man in the West has nothing to himself. There's no anything in the Western world where the black man can say is his own. Not Jamaica, not the Barbados, nothing like that. Liberia is something that we can say that this is ours. This is ours. It's all ours, and it belongs to us. And it's our duty to make sure this republic we have its back. So that's what I want to say.
Good. So, gentlemen, I'm gonna drop.
All right, Great African. Thank you.
I gotta
for the
get up
history.
and do my
Thank you for
workout in about
everything,
5
brother.
hours. So.
We gotta get you. Now you know the channel, man. You gotta come on more often, bro. We need
Okay.
you.
Yeah, appreciate
Right,
you, brother. Absolutely. Appreciate you sharing all the knowledge, wisdom, education of the history of Liberia.
You should have his sister on, man. Sister
Yeah,
Kyle, you
yeah.
gotta have her on. She's authority
she's
in
the
Liberia.
she's the scholar. She's the one. She
She's a
can
scholar,
go.
bro. Ooh.
She can get into the details. So, but yeah. So have a good night, gentlemen.
All right, brother. All right, Great African. Take care, brother.
I appreciate you, brother. You take care. So that is our brother breaking it down. So appreciate a brother breaking it down. So we can not only just talk about going to Liberia, but we can also connect the historical aspect of it along with what's going on now in the future. So
you can't say there's no opportunity in Liberia, man. Like I said, what you call it? Like Navigate said, yeah, there's landing. But as you said with Great African, right? If you got an idea, right, the people don't have to ask the government or nothing like that. You can get land to do whatever you want. You could build anything you want in Liberia if you got the capital land and you're going to help the local people. And so they'll assist you in everything. I have not seen that in any part of Africa where there's all this. I'm knocking any country in Africa and everything, but I see people from the West struggling too hard when they go to Africa. And I always said that I always felt in my heart it shouldn't be that hard. It should not be that hard, man. And I always say I'll call Liberia as Africa made easy. Africa made easy. When I came there, I said this is the big easy over here. People are like, yeah, man, you just go there, register your business and everything. Nobody's gonna say nothing. As long as you're black, man, they don't care about that. Just say, hey, look, you can register your land, like that. I got offered beachfront property and everything. I said, oh wow, I was like, shit, $10,000, I can get that, oceanfront property. Oh wow, like shit. I said, man, I got so much offers of land and business, and I said, man, I'm here to enjoy myself, man. I can't even fathom all this. I got to go back and recoup all this because I was just overwhelmed by the opportunity, But like I said, in a few years, it's not gonna be like that. Once people catch on, man, it's gonna be a fierce competition, It's still gonna be plenty. I believe Liberia is infinity. It's at least for the next 20 years, there's gonna be plenty of opportunity, So, but this is a place, man. Like I said, I can't wait till Brother Bomani hooks up with the Jamaican brother on the ground. He's Jamaican and Pan African, UANI. He goes back and forth to Ghana, man. I'm surprised you guys don't know each other. He goes back and forth to Ghana. He's headed to UNIA.
Yeah, I know the person you're talking about.
Oh, you know him? Yeah. Okay. Good. So we need to connect with this brother in Liberia and say, hey, So it's all about connections and building social bonds and bonds with stuff like that. That's how we're stronger. We're stronger when we come together. But when people sit in the chat trying to divide us into negativity, that we need to know the truth about this. When they come to America, they ain't saying nothing about no truth about America. They just, I'm just happy to be here. They go to UK, happy to be here. Ain't got nothing going on, but yet they want to know we got to know all the truth. They don't say nothing about American history or nothing like this. The white man's done more shit to black people that black people shouldn't be complaining about nothing any place in the world. And they got, but we got to know the true history of Liberia, it's a bunch of foolishness, Got to be prepared for opportunity. You got to bring almost everything. Yeah, I like Dr. Hardnett's Africa business. I watch her channel. She does really good business in Africa and stuff like that, So, like I said, all this business and stuff that we're talking about Africa is strengthening Africa. And like Great Africa was saying, man, the fact that he could make money in Liberia and spend it in Liberia, that's That's a game changer. You get a few thousand people going to the country a year and whatnot, man. You're pumping billions of dollars into the local economy. You're becoming a part of the development of the country. And this is what we want. This is what we want. This is nation building. It's nation building. You're contributing. You're growing. Liberia is becoming a part of our thing.
Absolute color. Incredible energy, man. Incredible energy. I hope the screen looks good to you, man.
I would like this guy Phil Miner says. You have to change that mindset. What mindset? What mindset? What the hell are you talking about? I don't need anybody telling me my mindset. I've been dealing with Liberian life for decades. I know the people. I know everything. People like everything about me. They tell me, Colin, don't change nothing about you. They like you.
All
You
right,
go
Carla,
there,
so
you
that's
beat
a comment
yourself.
right there. You have to change your mindset first. Start from reading. Second, that's
I don't know
easy.
who that's directed towards, but I've read
Yeah.
Liberian history for a long time. I got tons of books on Liberia. I know the people. I've interviewed so many different
Well,
Liberians and everything.
Navigate got a nice philosophy for you right here.
He says Liberia will be challenging like any other countries if you don't bring. Everyone says, yeah, of course. I mean, that's singing to the choir. No shit, It's like no shit, Sherlock. No shit, Sherlock. No, I'm gonna go there broke and empty-handed, man. I'm like, I can't afford a trooper trap, but I'm gonna tell somebody what they need to bring to Liberia. I know all that. I put thousands of dollars in Liberia already.
Hey,
I got a
Navigate, go
business.
ahead and hit that super chat. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and hit that super chat.
Yeah, show us something, Navigate. Hit that super chat. People like this. This is what we want. This has been a successful show tonight. We broke it down. It's abundantly clear. Liberia has a history, has a lot going for itself, and everything like that. And the bottom line is just Liberia is going to be the entry point. Yeah, that's the missing piece, like the riddle. I said there's always a riddle about Black America. Liberia is the answer to the conundrum, the riddle. Liberia. And when I read Liberian history, I said this is the missing part of Black America. Our connection to Africa and the fact that we built a republic. That's been hidden from most Black people in America. 90% have never heard of Liberia. You think that's any accident? No. They don't want you thinking that you did anything outside the borders of outside the confines of America. And then when you are successful, when Black people are successful, suddenly they become Europeanized. They're white. They're Europeanized. They got Western ways. But yet the same Black people in America, right? They're completely Westernized, right? You call us niggas and Black people and everything, So a Black person sitting on a street corner, right, doing nothing, right, selling crack, he's not Westernized. He's like, yeah. So you only want to take the good and call it Westernization. White people do that. Why are Black people doing that? So when a country's successful, they knew how to have a government, and they basically mastered the science of government. Liberia, in fact, had the best administration on the whole entire African continent. The British, none of these people, the British didn't send their best and brightest to Africa. Liberia was founded by, like Ray Africa said, the best minds of the Black world. That's why they were never colonized. That's why they staved off the Great Scramble for Africa, because they had the best minds in the world working to make sure that they weren't trying to get back to America. They said, this is our land. This is where we are. They love their country. They were patriotic. They waved their flag. They basically like this. They were proud of what they had. They were free. If you go to Liberia, you understand why these people love this country. The country is absolutely beautiful. Especially when you go to Cape Mount and places like Caesar's Beach. This place was a paradise for Black people. They were free. They didn't have to worry about the Ku Klux Klan. They didn't even have to worry about crime. Liberia had a low crime rate, throughout its history. They were free Black people. We don't understand what that's like because everything got to be bondage. Oh, there's got to be a catch to it. Europeans control the resources. No, Liberia was a free country, and that's what we're talking about tonight, Liberian mob Negropeans coming after Africa. I don't know how they're Negropeans when they basically created a country that said only Black people could be country citizens. I don't sound Negropean to me. That sounds Pan-Africanist to me. Am I missing something, Brother Bomani?
No, I'm gonna look at a comment. The Liberian model of Negropeans coming to Africa to take over is not the mindset. I'm not sure what he means by that, but
I don't
I'm
know.
sure
So
I'm
all this
sure we
time,
don't
man,
want
we
to.
just proved We proved tonight that this, Liberia was a Pan-African country. The history, everything, when the OAU was conceived and conceptualized by Stewart, all the stuff we said tonight, Liberia staved off the everything. Liberia educated and was a launching ground for all the Pan-African movement, independence movement in the on the continent. You know, it was Liberia. Kwame Nkrumah, Nnamdi Azikiwe, all these people came to Liberia for help. You know, Nelson Mandela stayed in Liberia. You know, so all these people came to Liberia, but Liberia was Negropean. You know, this is like I said, these hating ass black people. You know, because Navigate's sitting up there on a friggin' plot. He's a plotter. A plot of land, living in Ghana. He's not happy, so he wants to throw shade at Liberia. You know. Then we say one thing about Ghana. Oh, don't talk about my Ghana. I love Ghana, you know, but the bottom line is this: Liberia was always a leader in Africa. You know, everybody knows that. Liberia was always a Pan-African country. You know, Kwame Nkrumah was a student of Liberia. You know, and we got
Yeah, I
to
mean, my brother was acting like he was feeling some kind of way. I mean, I know people are looking like Liberia, one of the poorest countries in Africa, and I'm like, you got to rethink a lot of things. I've been to countries in Africa that's doing well. You know, it's like you got to find a country that has all the right connections and have all the right things that's gonna make you feel connected, feel like you're home
and right,
there,
and
and that's why I
Liberia is
appreciate
rising
your
right now.
feedback, brother. I also appreciate your feedback on how you felt when you actually went physically there to Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah,
I was
so
there for a whole month, man. I thoroughly enjoyed myself every last single day. Right till I got on the plane, man. I was like, man, I love this. Oh my God, you know, it was something life changing, man. I was like, wow. You know, from the time I landed to the time I left, man, that was like 4 weeks of just heaven. I got engaged, you know, to my beautiful fiance, you know, and everything like that. You know, people around me, everything embracing me. I met government officials. I met some of everybody. Everybody was like, "Oh," I formed the BAO local chapter in Liberia. You know. I'm not a Negropean, bro. I don't know where you get that Negropean. You know. I'm not. I don't know what you talk about. I'm a black man. I'm an African. You know, I have nothing to do with Europe. You know, I don't serve the Queen. I don't serve the United States. I don't serve none of that. I'm a black man. I want to see a black African nation. So I don't know what you're doing in Africa, bro. But my goal is black African infrastructure. You know, I don't know what that means. If you're trying to say the black African infrastructure is Negropeanism, I don't know what to tell you. You must be really lost. I want to see black banks. I want to see black industries. I want to see black colleges, black everything. I want to see black marriage, black families. I'm all about the black family. You know, so if that's Negropeanism, is something new to me, man. You know, that's why when people talk when they instead of just bowing out, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They'll just keep going on. Like some arguments I can't win. You know, something like with South Africa and whatnot. You know, like so I feel some way about South Africa, but there's a lot of black people going there and just saying they like it, they're doing well. I leave it alone. You know, I don't be, oh, well, white people only look. Black people over there saying they're making millions of dollars, they're building houses, everything. They got a network there and everything that they're connecting with the local people. I say, if you're happy in South Africa, hey, I'm happy for you. You leave it alone, you know. But people, they can't do their own Pan African thing. They're always in somebody else's Pan African business, you know. Instead of saying, you know something, I don't know much about Liberia, but you know, and somebody's a colonizer, you know, where's you are, you know.
somebody typing that in there, like this is wow. Look at this right here. But nevertheless, it's all good. This you know, you called it right there. But no, this is our flyer, man, brother, and we're going through
Yeah.
this flyer. We got the dates up, we got the details, got my phone number. You can text me information, you can email me, you can check out our social pages and family. The details are there. We're talking about Liberia, we're talking about rebuilding and a strong tourist and a strong reconnection from the African diaspora to Liberia. We had a good brother,
What's
great African.
industries? What's industries? Is that does somebody said so? What industries do you invest in?
Oh no, it's one of these trolls. You know, so most of them are uneducated.
Industries. Oh, I don't know what an industry is. That Dusties? Is that what the Dusties do?
No,
Industries?
it's someone trying to spell industries.
Oh, okay. Industries. Okay. Mm. You know what I'm saying?
But can you explain what a Nigopian is? Because
Okay, a
Navigate Freely
Negropean,
say
like
he's a
check this out.
Nigopian, and then he said you also, and
And the
you said
bottom
you're
line
not.
is this. Check this out. Check this out. I'm a African. I'm a westernized African. That's all I am. By race and everything, I'm an African, but my roots, everything is in Africa. And so therefore, because there's that line of demarcation of race, which I believe in I'm always going to be part of Africa. I'm not part of the West. I'm not, but I'm westernized, you know? So my culture is a hybrid of African and westernization. Just like you see modern Hong Kong people, they're Chinese and they're Western. Japan's pretty much Western and like that. So you take the best side of the West, which you and you take your traditional African culture. I came up as a traditional African American family. You know, I went to an African American church. I knew about voodoo. I knew all the other stuff like that in Black culture. My parents were in family was in the Black Panther Party, the freedom struggle, the Black Power movement, and stuff like that. So I'm well versed in Black history and Black culture. That's where I come from. You know, there ain't nothing Negropean about that. You know, and bottom line is African Americans have a history of culture. We're an almanac. We have an encyclopedia of history and everything. If you don't know who you are, navigate. I don't know what to tell you. I'm an African American. You know.
Well,
If you
this is
don't
his
know your
comment, right?
history,
Well, his philosophy is that you speak a European language, educated and cultured by them as well. Face the truth,
no.
Nigopian.
I was educated by a Black family. I grew up in a Black family. What are you talking about?
See, so
I
that's
have
what I'm
many
saying.
generations of
People assume things because they think everybody is all connected to the same,
right.
you know,
So
same
basically,
ignorance. I mean, I don't know.
no what he said. What he's doing is basically thinking that Black people aren't educated. So if you're educated, you must be you're westernized. There's
Okay,
Black
got
people.
you.
What he doesn't understand is the first communities in America, right, that were brought over here by the Portuguese, Spanish, and Dutch were Black communities. New York City was built by Black people. You know, we're called Creoles, Atlantic Creoles. You know, people spoke Dutch and everything like that from Europe. The Europeans brought their Black people from Europe when they settled them in the New World. The first organized communities in America were Black people. People don't realize that. You know, white people didn't come till after the Manhattan and all that was developed. You know, people don't realize that there were Black communities that were always in America for 400 something years. You know, so yeah, we speak English and everything like that, but Black people speak a different vernacular of English. Our English is different. We have certain words and phrases that we say that they don't say. We have our own slang and everything like that. So although we speak English, right, our English is different from somebody that come from Louisiana, somebody that come from Texas, and stuff like this. You know, so people just basically ignorant. You know, they don't understand anything about thing. African American culture is African culture, and I know all about African culture. I studied Africa. You know, but culture is what you do. You know, culture is just state of being. You know, if you're living
Yeah,
in America,
it's
you're
a way
Black
of
person in
life.
America. That is an African culture.
Yeah, it's a way of life. But these
The way of life.
people, now I'm saying culture, your way of life, the way of life, that's your culture, no? The way you speak, you talk, you move, you connect with your people, all those aspects of life.
Your way
Um,
of thinking, your mindset. You know, that's all your
so,
culture. You
so
know, the bottom
navigate,
line, black
it's a
culture in
holistic
America.
operation. It's a holistic,
You know,
science.
evidently Navigate didn't grow up around a lot of Black people. He came from a broken home. He didn't go around Black culture where you go into society. You ever go some people in the South one night and you see all these African ornaments and everything. I had a lot of African stuff in my house growing up. We had African books, African encyclopedias, African history, you know, sculptures and all that stuff like that growing up. So this idea that that we were taught about the transatlantic slave trade, we know who we are. You know, so this idea that we're not Africans and everything, that's you, bro. But I knew who I was, you know.
Well, this is what he said right here. He said it's a good friend navigate that was on earlier family.
It says, stop putting floor words in my mouth. No, I'm just going by what you're saying. Oh, you're not African. Yeah, I'm maybe not a Zulu African. I may not be a Yoruba African, but I'm an African American. As simple as that. You know, my
That's it,
connection is with
family.
my motherland.
And that's a
Good.
family in which that's what I'm trying to make. That's our family. I want to, we're trying to connect you to an, an incredible experience in Liberia for the fact that to where you have a similar connection. So this would be uh, you know a smoother journey for some of us. So that's what we also trying to share with people, and also,
Yeah, well, I would like to know
during
from
this,
Navigate, right? I would like to know from Navigate. Well, the British, the Ghanaians still celebrate, still participate in the Commonwealth Games. They're so integrated into the British culture and everything like that. They go to the UK, they come out like chocolate covered Europeans, and when I come back to their country, they sound like English people, black English people. But because they're on the continent, they're more African than we are. People will tell you African Americans are way more African than a lot of Africans are, because
yeah,
we have that racial conscience,
yes, absolutely, brother. And it's something that people have to take in mind and process. Not telling people what to think and feel, but we have to just process things outside the box, and just sometimes we have to just rethink how we thinking about things and looking at things.
And the only reason why they're saying now, if we weren't interested in going to Africa, no one would argue with us that we're Africa. Oh, go back to Africa. Oh, you African booty structure. Well, it's something you say. But as soon as you start talking about going to Africa, building, oh, suddenly you're not African no more. Oh no. But you got white people in South Africa call themselves Afrikaners and everything. Nobody says a damn thing. You got white people. Oh, they were African in the morning. You got Indians. According to the way the original OAU was about the black race, right? Garvey. The OAU was formed by Garveyites. This guy Stewart, right? Now the African Union basically considers Indians, Chinese, Lebanese, born on the continent as Africans. So basically, what we're saying is this: what we're saying is Africa for that. We're talking about black Africans, And the bottom line, in the modern world, right? The African is the modern version of the black race, right? You may be in your indigenous culture, you may be a Yoruba and everything, but the idea of Africa means you are a part of the black race. Simply, you're part of sub-Saharan black race. That's what you are. That defines an African. No matter where you are, whether you're in Belize, whether you're in Panama, you're an African. That's race. That's what you build on. It ain't about friggin' a specific culture, black race, because black cultures are all similar. And what we have in America is a Creole culture, a mixture, because African America is a mixture of Congolese, Malians, Yoruba, Igbo, everything like that, composed from the black community, And so that's what I'm saying. Black African means just you're black, in the black culture. Whether you speak English, whether you speak French, whatever like that, you're still a black African. It's simple.
Well, perfect, brother. Appreciate your energy, man. And it's late, and we have gone through it. We went through the topic over and over, and
Oh yeah.
we've shared all the details for people to join us. So, family, that's the website right there at the bottom.
Yep.
That's it right there, man. That's the logo up there.
If you want to hook up with Kala, you want to join us or whatnot, join the BAO Global Pipeline and download the app on your app store, or go to the website and like that. But I suggest you download the app so you have the phone, you get the notifications, everything like that. We have an app for our website, our social network, and everything. It's our own Facebook group. Basically our own Facebook style social network and everything. You can hook up with, join different chapters. You can create your own groups in there and everything, create your own blogs, upload your videos, tell us about yourself and everything, and join this, and this is what it's all about. It's all about. Because I don't do somebody says Elon Musk, Charlie Musk is more African than Colin. So somebody that's a white man is more African than, you should kick that dude out of the freaking ban that motherfucker. Ban him, get him out of here. No, we don't need your money, bro. We ain't looking for money. Do we once there ask you for money? You want to support the super chat and everything like that? That helps out with the show
There you
and
go,
everything
brother.
like that. But we're not looking for your money.
There you go, man.
Yeah,
He's
blocked.
gone. Yeah, I mean,
gone.
that's a sad situation. When when you talk about people, it's all about Africa, all about building, and just because you're stolen from your continent and then you're returning back, you're less of an African, while someone who has nothing to do with the building development of anything African, and you're
Yeah,
like,
we don't
wow,
have time to
family.
play that.
So this is real business, family. Well, we have this incredible Liberia journey of a lifetime going on. So for those
This
who
guy Phil Miner. So, you need money when I do $1 super chat. Whoa. Oh, big spender here. This guy's an investor in Liberia. He puts $1 up, man. Where do these jokers come from, man?
I don't know. I think people enjoy watching us because we're so sharp on what we're doing, and we have an incredible vision, and we actually have solutions, plans, connections, and opportunities for our people. And then that's a little bit different from people who gossip and talk about every minute, just chase stories. Like some of our people that's on YouTube,
Check us out.
just
Check us
chase
out. It
like
says
ambulance chases, brother, chasing
now check us out.
ambulance.
Check us out. Now this clown navigator says Elon Musk has more experience with Africans than Colin. Elon Musk will never be an African. Now this is somebody that lives in Ghana. I don't know, he claims to be a Pan-African. He say something stupid like that. This is what I'm talking about. These people aren't serious. These guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So family, the ones who are serious, family, the website is right there. I posted my number for you to text me, reach out to me, connect with me, so we can connect you to Liberia, or if you want to connect to another country, if you want a consultation, if you want to talk or connect. We're sharing our information and reaching out, and we've went through a beautiful history and shared a lot of documentation about Liberia. And
But if you like
so,
Elon Musk more, you like College Genesis, man, and more power to you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, so that's the issue with these folks, man. Some of our folks is just not serious. And Phil Miner, thank you for that $1, brother. Appreciate it, man. We're $1 richer.
Yeah, you really contribute a lot, bro. $1. We know it's gonna break.
He's talking that big stuff. I thought he was gonna drop 100.
Yeah, drop 100. Yeah, he drops $1.
I said, Mr. Money, man.
Yeah, this is a guy who wants to invest in mining and minerals. Oh wow, drops $1. We got jokers out here, man. Jokers.
And he did that just to be funny.
Yeah, jokers. Oh, I drop $1. Yeah, I said, man, we don't need your damn $1.
What a day! What a day! So here we go, right there again, Kala. That beautiful flyer, Kala, as we get ready.
Oh yeah, man. Or get ready, man. We're gonna be a successful tour. And the bottom line is we go to Great Africans Farm.
Hey, this person got a Liberia flag, and look what they're doing.
Yeah, the bottom line, these people out here don't want to help the develop. She's supposed to be a Liberian. She's trying to help her country. I listen to somebody like Great African who got investments and everything. You got Liberian trash that get on the internet all day. They're on every show and whatnot. I'm working all day and I check in. I see all these people in the chat room all day, all night, on every different show. Well, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a life?
What do you do for a living? Do you have a life?
I stopped by Dining Show the other day. Call in. I said, motherfucker, you call in. I ain't had that time to call in everybody's show and whatnot. Every day and whatnot. I don't want to hear what you freaking jokers got to say. I really don't. I do this show and I listen and whatnot. I don't need to call everybody's show. I'm only talking from now on. I'm only dealing with people who I think are really serious about this mission and everything like that. And this is what I'm gonna do. I'm serious about this. And the bottom line is, let me tell you something right now. Nobody can stop me what I'm doing. You can stop me. It's too late. And the bottom line is this. This is our time. Nothing you could say or do is going to stop me. So you're just wasting your breath. You're wasting your typing space, typing all the nonsense you're talking. Now this guy called us. He called both of us Sambos. But Monty, who's been working in Africa back and forth all the time, but we're Sambos. Somebody, Phil Miner, who doesn't even fucking show his face. I show my face. Where I live. Everybody see what I look like in there, and I'm brave. I'm a man enough to do that. When that Great African shows his face, but mine shows his face and whatnot. But yeah, you got some troll in the chat room who can't even show us what he looks like, talking smack. That's what I'm telling you about the internet. Which we call. She goes, we want serious people, not people look down. How do I look down? Bomani, have I said anything that looks down? What was I saying tonight about the Liberian Native people? What was I saying?
No, you didn't say, brother.
Without them, we would not have a country.
You said nothing but positive things about our connection. I mean, and you clarify more than other people clarify. A lot of people can try to get
Which
emotional
call?
into
Okay,
it.
check this out. The Liberian flag. Let me talk about the Liberian flag. The Liberian flag was not formed after the U.S. flag. That's another lie. Liberian flag was created right at the time where America never even had a national flag until like the early 20th century. So the U.S. flag was just flown on merchant ships and the Navy, right? It wasn't really a flag in the Army. It wasn't like there was the idea of a national flag when I didn't take effect officially until like the early 20s with Henry Ford. Henry Ford said, "Oh, this America." The idea of America didn't even exist in the 20th century. Americans saw themselves as Georgians, as Louisianans, as Texans, New Yorkers, Pennsylvanians, Bostonians, and all this stuff like this. The idea of uniting America happened after the end of the Civil War and towards the end of the 19th century, which was the 1800s. And so therefore, Henry Ford said, new immigrants came over here. First thing they were given the Statue of Liberty, an American flag. And so the idea of America is something that was ongoing and didn't take root till after World War II. World War II, America, you had things like Superman, Truth, Justice, and American Way. They had to really build that. So this idea that a Liberian flag was based on America is a lie. Liberian flag had nothing to do. Liberian flag is the Lone Star. The Lone Star means, the one republic on the African continent. That's the Lone Star. And Liberia stood alone. And so the Liberian flag looked like the American flag. No, the American flag looked like the Liberian flag. How about that? So these people talk their nonsense and everything every time it's fair. We're proud of Liberia. And Liberia's flag, our flag, the Black nation of America, is the red, black, and green. That's our flag. That represents us as returning Africans. The Republic of Liberia flag is the Lone Star. That's the Republic. The nation is the red, black, and green. There's two different things. They could fly side by side, but the red, black, and green got to fly underneath the Liberian flag because the Liberian flag, it represents the Republic. Just like you may have in Bassa, the county may have their own flag, or different tribes may have their own flag and everything. But what flag flies supreme over Liberian soil is the Liberian flag. That's what's recognized around the world. The flag is not going to be changed eventually. So she has the Liberian flag in her moniker, but Liberian flag. All these people that just negative and everything. These people never show their face and everything. All they do is troll and talk bad about their own country. But I'm glad you got patriotic Liberians like Great Africa, and the younger generation of Liberians are so patriotic. They love their flag. You go to Liberia, they're handing their flag. These kids love their country. They love their republic and everything, and they'll die for that flag. Ain't nothing gonna be changed. Monrovia is gonna say Monrovia. No, Liberia is not your country. You don't love Liberia. You haven't embraced Liberia. So I don't care if you were born there. I don't care. I bet you think she was probably born in America. She probably wasn't even born there. Red, black, and green and gold. Right now, there's no country, there's no soil or republic that has the red, black, and green on it. There's no soil. The Ghanaian flag does not have it, the red, black, and green. They may have some in it, right? Nigerian doesn't have it and everything. These are what's called republics, nation states. Not your ideology. Red, black, and green Pan is what we identify our cause with. But the Republic of Liberia, the Republic of Sierra Leone have their own official flags.
There you go, brother.
I wasn't clowning your unique accent. I'm talking about the gibberish like this guy McGill did when he's talking to the indigenous people, telling them how much he's robbing them, that they have no money for the talking in his colloquy, right? And the next day, the secretary of the ambassador put sanctions on his black ass. He basically robbing the country, people blind, stealing their money and gets out there and starts talking the colloquy. Oh yeah, you guys said, oh really? So all this money that you're supposed to spend on us and build schools and everything, you don't have it. Everything you sitting there joking in the colloquy, because you think the Liberian people are stupid. I know about the Liberian handshake with the finger snap. I know all about that. I know all the Liberian the pump, the kneecap, the knee taps, all this stuff like that. I know all about Liberia. You forget my wife's a Liberian. You know, he was speaking in colloquy, sound like an idiot. If you're going to talk about official business with somebody, you talk legibly and everything. You don't talk colloquy when you're telling people you ain't going to do shit for them. If you're going to do that, just basically say, you know something, we don't have the money, and talk like you respect them. He was talking disrespectfully, saying, oh, it's all good and everything. That's a joke. When you meet Liberians, right, and real doing business, they talk the best English you'll ever see in your life. When it's joking time, when you're at the bar or something like that, they talk colloquy. You don't talk colloquy in official business. That's disrespect. You talk colloquy when you're having beers, when you're having club beer or something like this. When you're telling people that, you don't have the money and everything like that, and y'all just gotta have to suffer when you don't talk in colloquy. That's disrespectful. If somebody Bomani it comes to you and says, Bomani, man, I know you invested money in me, but yo, Bomani, my nigga, what are you gonna say? Nigga,
Like, talk straight, man. You're talking too fast. Slow down. Talk straight.
Yeah, talk straight. Talk to me like you have respect. I guarantee you that guy McGill wouldn't talk colloquy to me. If I basically came to him and said, look, this is what the BAO wants to do and everything, he ain't be talking like colloquy to me because I met Liberians in Liberia. They talk real proper when they talk to me. I ain't telling you how to talk because most Liberians will tell you that. I don't have to tell you that. Most Liberians are fed up with you idiots. Liberians like, man, we gotta suffer because people online, these people. I bet this lady Gem Jewel, don't even live in Liberia. She probably has no investments, no nothing. Because if she had something in Liberia, she wouldn't be on Facebook. She wouldn't be on YouTube 24 hours a day.
It's a whole lot of trollers and haters, man. It's like people literally sit around in this. This is entertainment for them while we're talking, about business, about connecting our people, run a global business pipeline, and about this uplifting the energy in Liberia and this making our ancestors proud. You got people trolling and hating, and I guess they're just bored.
Yeah, there's nothing to get true. That's why I said we gotta leave these people behind. Like Great African. He said, you don't see he got so much going on. Do you see him on Facebook and
no,
YouTube?
exactly.
No, he's doing his shit. The people ain't doing nothing. Spend their time on freaking YouTube.
That is the truth, man. Because I tell people, I was like, I just throw some videos up and I got to get back to work. And then, then we do our live after work, after a full day of work, and we just call it like the late night shift.
The late night shift.
Or do like overtime or something. Folks got to get a life. You know what I mean? So what I recommend to do
a major insurance agency.
There you go,
and I got people depending on me. I got big money on the line. That I got to produce this fall coming up. I got to really deliver the numbers because I got a lot of money. So bottom line is I got a lot going on. I don't have time to be on everybody's show friggin' talking a bunch of gibberish with a bunch of idiots who don't get it. And that's what I said. We have to be serious about business. The Bible says be men in business. Be men and women and be serious about business. But mine's a serious brother. It took a lot for me to convince him about Liberia, and he's learning more and more. Yeah, this really go, and we're gonna connect him with the more people on the ground and whatnot. You're gonna see shit. The stuff we're gonna do in Liberia is gonna be nothing but revolutionary. So you guys will sit back and watch this show, and this that You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you have, Phil Minor. You're a fucking clown. I don't want nothing to do with you. You just burned your bridges with me.
Yeah, it's unbelievable when you're telling people about what we do and everything. People just make comments, so it's interesting. But anyway, let me move away from that, and let me just get us back. We're on, and just get us back in another full screen. Well, yes, Kala, it's been a beautiful day, man, and we have gone through it.
4 hours. I think we did a good show and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Which I can't do a show. We could do a show Friday night. I can't do one Saturday night because I'm going to a wedding. My niece is getting married Saturday, so
Congratulations,
So,
that's excellent.
yeah.
Yeah, all good, man. Appreciate it.
Well, we
we're
can
working
establish
to
that
push this
Liberia's
energy in
position,
Liberia,
regaining its
family.
position. Slowly but surely, Liberia is becoming a Pan-African capital. All the stuff we have, problems we have in other African countries, we're going to say, even if people are living on the continent, we urge people to look at Liberia as a place of business and stuff like that. And if you want to go to any part, we urge you to invest in any part of the country in Africa, but make Liberia base. That's exactly what Liberia was set up for those in the West to access the whole entire continent. You're in Liberia, you could talk to the Kenyan embassy, you could talk to the Ghanaian embassy, you could talk to the Nigerian embassy, you could talk to European embassies, whatever. You have a country where you could access the world, and you don't have to worry about the United States anymore. So this idea of America, I'm in Liberia one night, nobody said, oh, well, we got to check with the U.S. before you do anything. That's what that means to be in a free country.
There you go, family. All opportunities are waiting for us in Liberia. And you see the dates right there. You see the website right there. Take you to that journey. So let me know how this music sound. Hopefully you can hear it, Kala. This is called Sons of Africa.
We're taking this out.